4 games in and only 2 victories is some consternation involved. We don't like the way we've played. We haven't been in sync from week to week. We've lost a lot of our ball control passing. I think we've demonstrated certain things, but not enough, and we are concerned.
Walsh's quarterback, Joe Montana, had his worst day as a pro last week as he completed just 12 of 26 passes and was sacked 6 times as New Orleans beat the 49ers 20-17. When he has the time, Montana still has the outstanding receivers like the ever-improving Roger Craig, who has 6 touchdowns already this year. Montana hopes to celebrate again today.
The team started out the year with high hopes, and they've had some adversity, but they're in the type of frame of mind that they believe they're a good football team. They've played all of the teams up to this point hard and heavy, and they believe that if they continue that action, that type of approach, that things are going to fall in their direction.
Steve Bartkowski remains Atlanta's quarterback, and the addition of number 24, Joe Washington, gives Bart another pass-receiving threat. But Bartkowski is hurting, and if he can't go, the Falcons will use young Dave Archer, younger and more mobile, but also lacking experience. We'll see both today as the Falcons try to get back on the track and win their first of the year against the San Francisco 49ers. We're live at Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium, the home of the Falcons, and the Super Bowl champion San Francisco 49ers are in town on a breezy, brisk afternoon, but a day that should be very conducive to outstanding football. Good afternoon. I'm Pat Summerall here in Atlanta with my colleague, of course, John Madden. The 49ers are 2-2, and a lot of people are asking a lot of questions about what's wrong. John, I'll ask you, is it that tough to repeat as a Super Bowl champion?
Well, it is that tough because you don't sneak up on anyone. Everyone plays you like it's their Super Bowl game. They've had the whole off season. You were the champion last year. Everyone works on that. They study what you did, and then they're really ready for you, as ready as they can get. But I think the biggest problem with the 49ers so far is the fact that in 4 games they've had 13 turnovers. They've lost 8 fumbles, and that's a statistic that leads the league. And anytime you have that many turnovers, as Bill Walsh says, you just can't be in sync.
Now, their opponents, the Falcons, are 0-4, off obviously to a terrible start. We were at their practice yesterday, and they don't look like an 0-4 team, do they?
Well, that was the thing that impressed me is we went to their practice and we talked to the players and watched them. They didn't practice like an 0-4 team. They were excited. They were loose. We talked to their coach, Dan Henning, and he didn't seem like a coach that was 0-4. And they really don't feel that they're a bad team. You know, they think they're a team that some bad things have happened to, but they're just ready to break loose. And they hope that they can do it today.
Dan Henning, the head coach of Atlanta, beleaguered but doesn't show it very much. On the other side, Bill Walsh, who has done such an outstanding job with the 49ers. Ray Wersching lines the kickoff in the direction of Danny Wagner. Wagner out to about the 20. The 49ers down in good shape. Let's check the lineups. The Falcons offensive backs and receivers. Bartkowski to quarterback. Riggs will be the lone setback. Johnson and Bailey wide. The 2 tight ends are Arthur Cox and Cliff Benson. Up front, and this is a good offensive line. Ken Scully, Jeff Van Note, Bill Frelick, their number 1 draft choice, and number 62, Brett Miller. Falcons have the ball at their own 20-yard line. Gerald Riggs, the lone runner behind Bartkowski. Riggs will get his workout. Riggs hammers to the outside, gets perhaps a yard. He's stopped by Ronnie Lott. He was the first man there. 49ers play the 3-man front. Stover, Tuiasosopo in the middle, Dwayne Board having a good year. The 4 linebackers are Shell, Ellison, Mike Walter, and Keena Turner. And in the secondary, perhaps the best, Lott, Wright, Williamson, and Hicks. And now, Lott is a safety man as they make the switch that we talked about. White Hicks goes to the corner on 2nd and 9. Tight end Arthur Cox. Short of the first down, and it would appear by about 3 yards.
This is one of the things that Bill Walsh wasn't sure about yesterday. 1, whether Ronnie Lott would start. 2, if he started, whether he'd be a corner or a safety. Now, he has a double problem there with lot one. He hasn't been doing well at corner. He's been beaten a number of times this year, and he has a bad shoulder. So if you take him off the corner where you're helping him in coverage, then you put him at safety, and that's where he has to hit more.
And that's where he is right now. 3rd and 3. Bartkowski back to throw. Under pressure. Got rid of it at the last second as Jeff Stover had him around the midsection, number 72. Let's watch that pass rush again.
And this is the thing that has been hurting Bartkowski and the Falcons all year. We see a stunt here in the middle. Stover grabs him in the grasp. After 4 games, they had 18 quarterback sacks. That's the 19th.
So Rick Donnelly, the Atlanta punter, comes on, averaging 41.4 for the year. McLemore back deep for the 49ers. Good kick. McLemore under pressure, gets away from one man, and he's got some room, and a penalty marker goes down. 4-5 on the hang time. Cliff Austin down to make the hit, but there is a penalty marker down. Referee is Freddie Wyant, ex-left-handed quarterback for the Redskins. And it's going to be holding against San Francisco, and they'll bring it back deep into their territory. 40-yard kick that was, as Bill Walsh.
Illegal block in the back. Receiving team. First down.
I wonder if Freddie Wyant, as you said, he was a left-handed quarterback. I think if there's such a thing as a left-handed referee, I think he's that.
Well, he signals left-handed.
Yeah, that's how they do it. They signal. They probably step with their left foot, signal. 1 foot forward, left foot.
Joe Montana puts Wendell Tyler in motion, and he goes right to work to Tyler. Tyler shakes away from one tackler and another, and the 49ers have a first down. Wendell Kaysen made the stop. Let's look at the 49er offense then. Montana the quarterback. Tyler and Roger Craig are the 2 runners. Dwight Clark and Freddie Solomon are wide. Up front, it's Paris, whose birthday is today, by the way. John Ayers, Quillen, Randy Cross, Keith Von Horst, and the tight end Russ Francis. A good veteran offensive line. 1st and 10. Clark and Solomon both split wide to the left. Montana going to work quickly. Thinking about it. Trying to get it to Craig as the Falcons put on the pressure. Threw it just a little bit behind him, and he couldn't get anything done. It was Pitts, Mike Pitts, who was chasing Montana. The Atlanta defense, young, but coming on. Bryan and Pitts and Benish and Gann. Gann particularly playing very well. Johnny Taylor, Buddy Curry in the middle, and John Rady are the linebackers. And in the secondary, Butler and Case in the corners. Scott Case and Tom Pridemore are the safety men. 2nd and 10, San Francisco. Ball's at the 49er 47. Solomon. That should be enough. Wendell Kaysen, the defender, number 20. 12-yard gain, and it is enough.
An interesting thing in this game, Pat, is the Atlanta Falcons are going to try to do today the same thing New Orleans did to the 49ers last week, and that's take away the short step. Don't let them hit Roger Craig and Wendell Tyler, the backs underneath. Make them go to their wide receiver. Used to be the opposite. You take away the wide receivers and make them dump off.
Tyler straight ahead and hammers for about 6 before Johnny Taylor trips him up. Get inside the Atlanta 40. In comes John Frank now. An excellent blocking tight end. Wendell Tyler comes out. Solomon wide right. Left is Clark. They go with 2 tight ends. Craig is hammered by Tom Pridemore, who's been doing that a long time.
They had some cracking down there. They had that sound down there. It sounds like a boom, boom, boom.
Penalty marker against San Francisco. Let's see what Frank did on that last play.
The thing is, you know, he's the tight end, and he's blocking down. That's when you bring your tight end down on the defensive end. He's blocking Mike Gann there, as we see. Then the off-guard and tackle tackle pull up through that hole.
87.
I remember last year, Bill Walsh told us that what an outstanding blocker John Frank was. He said he just sticks to you. He did it again there, didn't he?
That's the thing. I know. I went up and saw them at training camp, and I'd watch the 49ers practice, and even when he does a drill, even if he's blocking a bag, he just sticks to that bag like he's glued to it.
Montana, semi-rollout, gets it out to Craig. Craig trying to get another first down, gets close. Al Richardson tripped him up.
Here's a guy we were talking to, Dan Henning, yesterday, and he was saying that he thinks that Roger Craig is the best all-around running back in the National Football League.
And when we talked to Bill Walsh, he certainly backed it up. Just in his third year, weighs 224 from Nebraska. 3rd and 1.
You know, when he does things as a fullback, here's a guy as a fullback leading the league in scoring. And you usually don't see that. It's usually a kicker, a wide receiver, or the halfback type.
Montana going to work on 3rd down and going for Earl Cooper, who had it and dropped it. Cooper at the 10. Pridemore was with him. Montana was on the money. Cooper just couldn't hang on.
It's an interesting thing now. The 49ers, when you go the play pass, as they did here on 3rd down and short yardage, they had their 3 tight ends in. As you say, it was a perfect pass to Earl Cooper. It has to catch that thing. Now the 49ers have to decide to go for it on 4th down, I would think.
That looks like the decision they've made. Tyler comes back in. Solomon comes back in. John Frank is back in.
See, they had that short yardage. They made the defense think it was run. They faked the run, had Cooper open. He just dropped it. Now they have to go on 4th down.
4th and a yard. Montana to Craig. Roger Craig, first down at just about the 10, just outside the 10. Bobby Butler finally brought him down after a gain of 23 yards.
And I know that they're watching Roger Craig all over the field. They said that was the guy they have to stop. You see, he started inside. He got hidden in there. Joe Montana bootlegs out to the right. And you know what happened? Roger Craig dove into the line, got caught up in there, and then as he comes out, look, he's wide open on the other side.
First down at the 10, just at the 10. Wendell Tyler looking someplace to go and finding no place to go. Finish and Gann and Pridemore on the defensive surge for the Falcons. Atlanta 0-4 on the year. The 49ers 2-2.
You know, one of the things, Pat, remember last year how when the 49ers would get the ball, they'd always start off with a drive like this. Then they'd come back with another drive. That's one of the things that they haven't been doing in the first 4 games.
They always got out of the blocks quickly. They got ahead of everybody. White Clark is out wide to the right. Here's Montana looking left. Looking for Mike Wilson, incomplete. Wendell Kaysen right with him. Good coverage.
That was because Montana was ready to throw sooner than Wilson was ready to catch. Watch Wilson here working on Kaysen. Now he's going to have his back. Montana's ready to throw right now. And he already threw the ball. And of course, he had to throw it away, Montana did, because of that good coverage.
Ball still at the 10. 3rd down. Montana straight back this time. Out to Craig. Craig is stopped right at the line of scrimmage. Nothing doing. They'll have to settle for a field goal attempt. Bobby Butler was right there with Craig. The holder, Matt Cavanaugh, it would appear, instead of Montana.
This surprises me, Pat, here on 3rd and long when they throw this out to Craig. I know Craig is a real threat, but they needed 10 yards to get in the end zone. If they don't make it, they're going to kick the field goal anyway. I would have thought they would have thrown the ball in the end zone.
Ray Wershing. And the field goal is good. No, not good. Flag is down on the play, however. We'll have to wait and see. The ball really hammered the upright and then bounced straight back.
Hey, a lot of stuff happened on that play. Missed field goal penalty. Looks like it's going against the 49ers.
Holding, number 53, declined. First down.
Let's have a look.
That thing just went buck and hit the outside pipe, huh?
Bounced off the pipe, no good. And it's still 0-0 in Atlanta. Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium. Pat Summerall and John Madden. No score as yet. The 49ers got to the Falcon 10, missed the field goal. Steve Bartkowski remains the quarterback. Gerald Riggs the deep back. Hand off to Riggs. Nothing doing. Eric Wright came up quickly. Let's check the scoreboard and see what else is happening around the NFL. Eddie Murray has a field goal for the Lions. They lead Green Bay 3-0. Buffalo 7, Indianapolis 0 under their new head coach Hank Bullock. Cleveland leading New England 7-0. That's in the first quarter. And New Orleans beat the 49ers last week, leads Philadelphia 3-0. Second and 13, Miami over Pittsburgh 7-0. Second and 13 from the 18. Bartkowski back to throw. Screen pass outside Riggs. Riggs with room. The 49ers hustle up and shut it down quickly, led by Ronnie Lott.
I tell you, we talked about Ronnie Lott having that bad shoulder. In fact, Bill Walsh said yesterday he didn't even know if he could play, but it doesn't bother him on this play. He's playing safety now, coming up inside right there. I tell you, the way he hit. Now, he has on bigger shoulder pads than the rest of the defensive backs. It doesn't look like any shoulders bother him. Got a lot of padding in there. See, usually those defensive backs have less stuff on them.
Well, he made that hit with his left shoulder. The right one's the bad one. 3rd and 10, and Joe Washington replaces Riggs. Bartkowski, another screen pass to Joe Washington, and Washington shakes away from one man, is finally taken out of bounds. There's a penalty marker down again on the play as Ronnie Lott took Washington out of bounds. John Scully with a good block up front. Maybe it was too good.
It was an interesting thing here. I think that, the immobile quarterback like a Steve Bartkowski, it's really tough to play with those guys today. In the first 4 games, they had 18 sacks.
Illegal use of the hand. Number 49, declined. 4th down.
Al Matthews is number 49. They declined the penalty. Rick Donnelly again. McLemore back, standing at his own 35. Donnelly doesn't get all of this one. McLemore at the 41. Got it back close to midfield before he's hammered out of bounds again by Cliff Austin. 40-yard punt, 7-yard return. They net 33. There's a flag down on the play, back at the line of scrimmage. San Francisco 0, Atlanta 0. First quarter. We'll check out the penalty.
Against the 49ers.
It is against the 49ers.
It's going to give Atlanta, it's going to give them a first down.
Yeah, I was just looking. It is enough. Bill Walsh, troubled by what's going on with his 49ers. People talked about so much about them being a dynasty, but how they were very much in a class by themselves.
Illegal cut, number 21, first down.
Illegal cut, and it's a first down.
Well, those are the types of things Bill Walsh was saying was happening to him. He said, we're just not in sync. He said, we'll move the ball, we go. Like they did today. They get down there, they miss a 3rd down play, then they miss a field goal. They stop them, and then they get the penalty.
0-0 in Atlanta.
Let's watch what happens out here. Eric Wright is the outside guy, and he chops the defender. You see right here, you can't block him below the waist. You see right there, Eric Wright went for his left knee right in front of the official. They go, boom, you can't do that. Illegal chop.
So it's 1st and 10. Gerald Riggs again is the lone setback in the ball carrier. He does get some room now, or momentarily it appeared he had some room. Jim Stuckey was out to cut him down. It's an interesting story is Gerald Riggs. Of course, they miss William Andrews. Gerald's getting up slowly. Andrews still out with that very serious knee injury, and Riggs now is shaken up. Ranks 3rd in the NFC in rushing, total rushing yards. Cliff Austin is in to replace him already. But Dan Henning was saying yesterday he really has a lot of confidence in this young man now.
Well, he said it was so tough last year because when William Andrews went down, Gerald Riggs had to do what William Andrews did plus what Gerald Riggs did. He said this year, again, he doesn't have William Andrews, but he got Joe Washington in to do some of the pass receiving and Cliff Austin in to do some of the running.
Riggs 6'1", 232 from Arizona State. 2nd and 6. He's been replaced by Austin now. Gain of 4. Quickly gets it out to Austin, who has the blocker out in front of him. And Austin rambles across midfield into 49er territory before Dwight Hicks can bring him down.
I tell you, that's the third screen pass that they run. It's just a one-man screen. You'll see the guard right out there. John Scott. No, that was the center, Jeff Van Note. Excuse me, getting out there in front of Cliff Austin.
Good block by the oldest man on the field. He cut down Todd Shell.
He's the 2nd oldest guy in the league. Don Skennerud's the only one older.
17 years. Stacy Bailey's put out wide to the right. Intended for Cliff Benson. Bartkowski having to throw in a hurry and throw short.
Well, that's the thing, you know, I was saying the way that football's getting today with all the blitzing and stuff, it's tough for these immobile quarterbacks like Steve Bartkowski. Steve Bartkowski's had 5 knee operations. Last week, he hurt his left thigh. He got a brace on the right knee. He's never been a mobile guy. These teams come after him. He either has to do one or 2 things. Take sacks, as he's been doing, or as he's been doing today, throw those quick screen passes.
Those 5 operations were all on the same knee, the right knee. Another screen pass. This one to Billy White Shoes Johnson. Played well by the 49ers' Keena Turner. He was up in a hurry.
Hey, that's about the 6th screen pass that the Falcons have thrown. And what happens sooner or later, that defense starts creeping up, sneaking up on you, and they start playing everything tighter like they did that last one, and it's not going to be there anymore.
It'll be 3rd and 7. Getting back to what you were talking about, John. Because of this mass substitution, the situation substitution, it's difficult to pass block. You just can't say, that's your man, you got him. Because you never know who's going to appear.
They change on every down.
Joe Washington, lineup. Bartkowski going for the bundle this time and overthrown. Intended for Ken Wisenhunt, who played collegiately right here in Atlanta at Georgia Tech. 45.
Dan Henning is thinking here, he was thinking of going for it on 4th down. You know, he liked his field position. He knew that he couldn't kick a field goal from here, and it's so enticing. You know, you're on the 42, you just got a 1st down with a penalty. You hate to give the ball up, but when the score is 0-0, you play in the 49ers, you have to do that.
So it's going to be the punter, Rick Donnelly. And Dana McLemore once again back for the 49ers, back at his own 10-yard line. Donnelly standing about the Atlanta 45. Aiming for the corner. And too much of a corner. Off the side of his foot, just inside the 20. Just outside the 20, make it. Now they back up again. It's going to be at about the 19 where the 49ers will take over. The punt net's over only 23 yards. Nothing in Atlanta. left to play first quarter. Atlanta nothing, San Francisco nothing. San Francisco ball at their own 19. Solomon goes out wide to the right. Clark struggled for about 7 or 8. Buddy Curry was the first Falcon, along with Johnny Taylor. They bring him down.
I tell you, the 49ers love to hit in that area about the 3, 4, 5-yard pass. Usually it's a back or a tight end. This time they switched it. They brought in Dwight Clark. You see, he comes in. Now he's going to be the guy working underneath. See, they send the back deep, and they work Clark in that short area. Usually it would be Clark deeper and the back in the short area.
2nd and 3, Wendell Tyler to the outside on the 49er first down. And Dwight Clark is none better. He just sort of stumbles around, looks like he collides with people, and all of a sudden he's open.
Well, you know, he's a big guy and he's a strong guy and he's a tough guy. You know, a lot of these wide receivers, they'll run those outs and they'll run the ups and they'll run it. This guy will go inside with as much enthusiasm as he does the outside stuff. That's a different type.
He comes out wide to the left again. Tyler slashing up the middle, got a couple, not much more than that. Again, it was Buddy Curry who made the tackle. Falcon middle linebacker.
Wendell left his big left tackle, Bubba Paris, on that one. Paris was pulling from the offside, and Wendell just let him go. Watch him here. Paris is like outside guy on the left. See the big tackle pulling there? He starts to turn up. Tyler turned up inside of him. I would have followed Big Bubba.
That would be good advice. 2nd and 9. There's had Montana drop back to throw. This is Solomon in that same area. Right now for an NFL update. Let's go back to New York, and here is Brent Musburger.
Well, Pat, the Green Bay Packers score here against the Detroit Lions. Lynn Dickey, who started, hit his running back, Eddie Lee Ivory, and now the Packers lead Detroit at 7-3 first quarter. Back to Pat and John.
Back in Atlanta, it remains 0-0. 3rd and 1. The clock is running. 1:45 about left to play in the first quarter. 3rd down on the 39. Montana to Tyler. Tyler will have the first down over the right side. Tom Pridemore made the stop for Atlanta.
Hey, when you have 3rd down, you have to do whatever at the end of the run to get the first down. Watch Tyler launch himself right there. Off that left foot, he launched himself about a good 5 yards. That was like coming out of a Roman candle.
Good enough, that launch, for a first down behind the 2 guards, who both got out in good shape. Jerry Rice has replaced Solomon. And they go to Rice. Bobby Butler, the defender. Jerry Rice, their #1 draft choice from Mississippi Valley State.
Hey, you know, he has a slight shoulder separation from last week. They weren't sure if he'd be able to play, but Bill Walsh said that he's okay. And now we're back in the line again. Look at Big Bubba. He got both hands in there, a little grab, boom, good pushing stuff in there. Today's Bubba's birthday, huh?
Right. When you say big, he's in that 300 neighborhood.
Right, and he gets his birthday as a week. He gets today, tomorrow, all week when you play that.
Montana, under pressure, gets it out to Craig. He'll be close to another 49er first down and should have it. Pridemore knocked him out of bounds.
I tell you, you know, when Bubba first broke in, number 77 here, he had a little problem, and he had it with his inside move. But I think that he has really become an outstanding tackle. I mean, he went from an average one to a pretty good one, and this year I think he's ready to become an outstanding one.
Remember last year, at the end of the year, well, particularly in the NFC Championship game against the Bears, he did a job on Richard Dent.
That was the thing. You know, that was the day that I think he went from average to a good one, when he handled Richard Dent.
Montana going to work on first down, going to Clark, incomplete. Wendell Cason back there with Dwight. bring up a 2nd and 10 situation. Clark is ever playing in those scuba diving gloves.
You know what scuba means?
You told me last year, but I forgot.
Self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. And then they wear the gloves when they're not self-contained breathing underwater. They wear them for football now. I think, you know, when they took Stickum out and they outlawed Stickum, I think we're seeing a lot more of the gloves. That's the reason.
More self-containment. Montana back to throw a blitz. Diaz gets rid of it. Craig was out there in the area. But the Falcons came running free. Pridemore on a safety blitz.
You know, it's interesting around this league how all the teams, because the 49ers do it, they major in that ball control passing, as Bill Walsh calls it, or that short passing game. And now everyone used to give the short passing, take away the deep one. And now because of Bill Walsh here, they're starting to do the opposite. Take away the short one, make them beat you with a deep one.
Thus far, Montana hadn't had enough time to beat anybody with a deep one. 3rd down and 10. They're at the 46. The Falcons 46. Here's back to throw. Here they come again, and now he has a man wide open. Roger Craig will score his 8th touchdown of the year. From 46 yards out. And the 49ers go ahead. Where'd he come from?
That's what you say. You live with the blitz, you die with the blitz. Watch the secondary, the safety of the corner. Craig slides right through there. All the guys that were supposed to cover blitz, there was no one back there to cover Roger Craig. There was no one on him, and there was no one deep. There was no one anywhere.
Worshing for the extra point. And he is true. 32 seconds left to play in the first quarter. And San Francisco leads Atlanta 7-0. 7-0. The 49ers over Atlanta. Ray Worshing teeing it up to kick it off. Back deep for the Falcons. Cliff Austin, number 39. And Danny Wagoner on the other side, number 36. Going to be Wagoner. About 4 yards deep in the end zone, and he will remain there. Touchdown play again.
Let's watch it here again, Pat, the touchdown. Here's the corner coming. We see the linebackers are all up in here. There's no one in this area to cover. And here's Roger Craig. He's going to sneak right through. And once he gets through there, there's no one there. Watch from the left side. They all come. There goes Craig. Stop it right here. Now we see all the defenses back here. Here's Craig, and there's no one there. Then when he gets the ball, it's just a straight line to end zone. That's the thing Bill Walsh was saying yesterday. They're doing a lot of blitzing, a lot of unsound blitzing. Whoever catches him, it's going to be a touchdown.
That's exactly what happened. The 49ers go ahead. That's Arthur Cox, motion man. Outside to Riggs, flying down the other side of the field. Riggs struggles and hammers his way to a first down, or they're very close to it. Jeff Van Note again out in front with a good solid block. Illegal motion is going to be called against the Atlanta Falcons.
Illegal formation. No end on the left side. First down.
I think that's what happens sometimes when you get motion. You have an end on one side, and then you start motion, and you have to have an end on the line of scrimmage, or the tackle on that side is eligible, and the tackle can't be eligible.
So that'll make it 1st and 15. From the 15. Could be the last play of the first quarter, unless it's an incomplete pass. And Briggs over the left side. Maybe 2 yards. Jeff Stover on the bottom of that pile. A very unpopular choice of plays for the Falcons, at least in the eyes of the fans. A lot of those fans stayed home today. That's the end of the first quarter with the score: San Francisco 7, the Atlanta Falcons nothing. Falcons have the ball at their own 17-yard line. 49ers leading 7-0. Steve Bartkowski, the quarterback. Has a man open. He is hammered. Here's Billy White Shoes Johnson. Stays on his feet and gets a Falcon first down.
I think Dwight Hicks came up to hammer him. He did the hammering all right, but he forgot to wrap his arms. Watch, White Shoes will catch a ball. Here comes Hicks up. He's going to put a square hit on him. Both hands in. He staggers off. Forgot to put his arm around the Shoes.
And Shoes gets a rest.
I'll tell you, he's an impressive guy. You know, he says he's only 29 years old. He's about 29 going on 34. But he's always had that bright eye, that little hop in his walk. Very impressive player.
Seems like he's played 29 years. Going deep. Incomplete. No flag. The intended receiver was Stacy Bailey, who only weighs about 155 pounds. Bartkowski can get it there deep. Eric Wright, the defender.
That's one thing that he can do, and is if he can get time, he can throw the ball deep and he can throw those deep outs. But his problem in today's football is just getting the time. That was good coverage by Eric Wright. Eric Wright, I think, is one of the best cover guys, if not the best cover guy in the league. Now, he's one of the best cover guys.
He was looking back for the ball, and under that new rule this year, if you're looking back for the ball and there is incidental contact, there's no penalty. Cliff Benson in motion. Bartkowski back to throw. First down. White Shoes Johnson. Dwight Hicks there with him again. What a pickup of 21 yards. Give Bartkowski time when he can burn you.
That's the thing, and that's what a strong arm can do, too, because here's Billy White Shoes Johnson running that out. Dwight Hicks is usually, again, the free safety playing the corner now, and that's a tough thing when you have to guard this guy, Billy White Shoes Johnson.
That's a name that 49er fans will remember for a long time, at White Shoes Johnson from a couple of years ago when he beat him on the last play of the game. Most of them are still not convinced he was in the end zone. Here's Riggs. Inside the 49er 40. Todd Shell finally gets him down with an assist from Dwight Hicks. 9-yard gain for Gerald Riggs.
That right side of that Falcon offense is a pretty strong thing with their rookie #1 draft choice, Bill Fralick, the right guard, Brett Miller, the right tackle. Watch your right guard there, Bill Fralick, and the job that they do to give Riggs that hole to get through.
That'll make it 2nd and 1 at the San Francisco 38. 49ers leading at 7-0. Riggs again, and he hammers for a first down. To about the 34. Keena Turner on the bottom of the pile. And Tuiasosopo there to make a stop also.
This is Jeff Van Note walking back to the huddle, putting his hands up there. You see the center puts his hands up. He's been doing that so many years. You wonder how he can get enthused. Just putting his hands up there, like huddle up on me. How many huddles do you think he's been in?
I don't have any idea. But after as long as he's played, he's lucky to be able to get his hands up at all.
He only got one hand up. You just put 2 up.
First down, Atlanta. On the 34, they give to Riggs. Riggs gets to the outside. Riggs down to the 30. Eric Wright tripped him up.
The Falcons are having a pretty good mix now here of the run and pass. Dropping back, hitting White Shoes, giving the ball here to Riggs. Makes a nice little cut out there. Could have had a loss. Made a boom, 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 and then straight up. That was a little dance. You see that? Quick feet. That's what they call quick feet. Boom, boom, boom.
Pretty good dance.
Yeah, when they don't stay in the ground long, that's quick feet.
You do it well, too.
With my hands up.
No ball, huh? Riggs again. This time he gets only about a yard, then struggles, and the struggle doesn't pay off. Jim Stuckey was the 49er defender who stuck him.
One thing I like about this Falcon team is their offensive line. Their left tackle, Mike Ken, I've always felt was one of the best pass protectors in the league. Jeff Van Note, you know, that sturdy center. Bill Fralick, #1 draft choice, a right guard, big, strong guy. Brett Miller, the right tackle, one of those guys bench presses 500 pounds.
Weighs 290.
Yeah, they got they got big bodies in there.
Benson is the motion man. Gronkowski looking deep for Billy Johnson. He mistimed his jump. He left his feet, and he was just out of sync.
You're right. He was there. Again, the safety blitz now is coming from the 49ers. Billy Johnson was running right in that hole that was vacated by the safety. The only thing is, Eric Wright was running right with him. But he did look like he mistimed that jump.
Gronkowski with his arm around White's shoes. A lot of people didn't think he'd be back after that knee injury. Billy Johnson, I'm speaking of. But he's come back as good as ever, it seems. Luckhurst, who has made his last 10 field goals. Trying to make it 11 in a row, and he does. The ironic thing about that is he's got a bad hip and hasn't practiced since the beginning of the season. Still, he's hit 11 in a row. Mick Luckhurst has just kicked a 45-yard field goal for the Atlanta Falcons. He's about to kick off now. Mentioned he had a bad hip and hadn't been able to practice. This is where he says it bothers him more than on field goals and extra points. Carl Monroe right at the goal line. And he's got some room. Monroe to about the 27 before Scott Case brings him down for the 49ers. For the Falcons, beg your pardon. Nothing. Tampa Bay and the Chicago Bears. That's in the second quarter. Green Bay's Al Del Greco has just kicked a field goal to put the Packers ahead of Detroit 10-3. Lynn Dickey's the quarterback. Indianapolis 14, Buffalo 7, 7-7 New England and Cleveland. New Orleans over Philadelphia 10-0. 10 here. Montana gets it out to Tyler. Tyler struggles in the grasp of Tom Pridemore over on the Atlanta Falcons sideline. The coaches have got the drawing boards and they're going to work.
Yeah, they're talking to the offensive lineman and they're talking about the weak backer there and the blitzing and what he's doing. On a three-man line, you don't want to turn your tackle out if the weak backer doesn't come, because then he's out there blocking air. That's what they're talking about, when to turn out and when not to. Tyler should have enough for a 49er first down. Buddy Curry on the bottom of the pile. The Dolphins over the Steelers 7-0. That's in the second quarter. Notice all those offensive linemen now, they always have their shoulder pads real tight. They have their real short sleeves now. Look at Randy Cross there, 51. It looks like, when was that, in the 40s or 50s? They used to roll up their sleeves and put a pack of cigarettes in there. That was the war years, yeah. You have to have big arms to do that, though. You know, if you have those little springs out there, you can do it. Third and short. Montana just kept it himself. A little exterior activity. First down, 49ers. Joe Montana, you know, he just didn't go right over the center. You said he took a little step to the right and then dove over his right guard, Randy Cross. The guy we're just looking at with those short sleeves. He said if a guy has that arm that big and he's that proud of him, man, I'm going to go behind him. Montana had an off day last week against New Orleans, only completed 12 passes. There may have been other reasons for that. He hit hard just as he let the ball go. Carl Monroe was the intended receiver. Mike Gann was a defender who was all over him. Yeah, Mike Gann comes from the right defensive end there. Doesn't look like anyone blocks him. That wasn't Gann. No, excuse me. That's a linebacker coming from the outside who no one blocked. He just came free. Joe Montana's off day last week at 2nd and 10 could have been due to worry and concern about the fact that his wife was about to give birth to their first child. Montana under pressure again, intended for Roger Craig. That's what happened
run last week. 12 out of 26 for just 120 yards, 2 picked off. He was sacked 6 times. That's his worst day as a professional ever.
You know, and they had a net yard passing of 81 yards, and that was the worst since Bill Walsh has taken over.
3rd and 10 here. They're at the 37. White Clark comes out wide to the right. Solomon flank left. Sounds like an audible. Montana under pressure, and down he goes. That was Mike Gann. Montana saw it coming.
Well, you can tell that Montana is in an audible on that play. You know, last year they only audibleized about 10% of the time. This year, Bill Walsh said because of the defense, they're audibleizing 30% of the time. They didn't pick anything up.
Rudiger. Anthony Allen. Number 85 on the punt return for Atlanta. 40-yard punt by Rudiger. They net 34. The return was 6.
Let's watch Mike Gann on that play. He starts here, pounds in, does a little spinner, comes up. Montana sees him and decides to go down before he's really sacked. Watch Gann. That Thomas Benson, 53 from the outside. Gann spins. Montana sees him and says, "No, not me. You're not getting me."
Riggs is the setback, and they give it to him. Riggs hammers over the left side. Got good yardage, about 8. Ronnie Lott tripped him up. Well, maybe not quite 8. Make it 6. Call it 2nd and 4 from the 44. San Francisco 7, Atlanta 3. Riggs again. Flag is down. Ronnie Lott knocked him out of bounds. Riggs had plenty enough to make it a first down Atlanta, but the flag came down. Yep. Holding.
That was an interesting play. When Riggs saw Lott was going to hit him, he just barreled in, finished off Lott. Lott knew he was getting it, and there was 2 bangers banging into each other.
Number 49, 2nd down.
But then after the play, Lott got up and kind of, patted him and said, "Good going, way to go, way to hit." This is what you call finishing off a run. Watch Riggs here. Right now, he could go out of bounds, but he doesn't. He cuts right. He sees Lott coming, and he takes him down. Now, that was a collision. I mean, that looked like 2 trucks. That was like a 58 on the collision scale.
Both 42s in number. But Ronnie Lott really applied the hit. 2nd down. Barkowski goes back to throw. Throws it out to Riggs with a couple of blockers in front of him. Riggs again gets good yardage up to about the 44. Todd Shell tripped him up. For a scoring update, let's go back to New York and Brent Busberger.
Well, Pat, the Bears are flat in Tampa, but Detroit is unable to take advantage of it so far. The Packers have run up a 17-3 lead on the Lions right now. Let's go back to Pat and John.
Here in Atlanta, it's San Francisco 7, Atlanta 3, but you get the feeling that the surge has moved to the Atlanta offense. They're looking better. It'll be 3rd and 3. Arthur Cox is the move man, and now Benson. Barkowski has the ball deflected away from the intended receiver, number 88, Arthur Cox. He had him open.
He had it open, and he still almost caught the ball with the deflection. This is the thing that a defense has to do, is you start to get the push, come right up the middle on Barkowski. When you get black, get your hands up. See that? Because without the deflection, that was a 1st down. With the deflection, we see it right there, it's still almost a 1st down.
Manu Tuiasosopo got his hand up and knocked it away. Just deflected it enough to get it away from Arthur Cox. McLemore back deep for the 49ers. And Rick Donnelly to punt for Atlanta. Good kick. Good kick. McLemore fields it at his own 6, drops it, left it on the ground. The ball's loose. The ball's loose. San Francisco got it. The Falcons had a shot. Danny Wagoner and Roy Harris were the first Falcons down there after a 50-yard punt. McLemore lost the handle, and there was a scramble.
He just looked it right through his hands to the ground. Then he's trying to pick it up. I guess he comes up with it on the bottom of that. You wonder how in the heck did he... That's it. I mean, the bad news is that he let the ball go right through his hand. But the good news is how did he pick it up with all this stuff going on around him?
Looks like he does come up with it. 49ers out of their own end zone. Montana going deep. Nothing. Not there. Jerry Rice was the intended receiver. What kind of, when you were coaching, John, what kind of philosophy did you have about when you don't handle a punt and when you do handle a punt?
I always said in that situation that the return guy gets on the 10-yard line. If the ball is kicked, punted in front of you, catch it. If the ball is over your head, let it go. It should go into the end zone.
Most of the time it does. 2nd and 10. 49ers operating from their own 3-yard line. The crowd coming alive. Montana back into the end zone again. Chased in the end zone. Fires complete to Jerry Rice. Looks like it's a little bit short of that first down they need. Scott Case, the defender.
That was a heck of a throw by Joe Montana. He was getting pushed in there. You can talk about rearing back, bringing it from the backyard and putting something on it. Watch him here. He gets pushed, he gets pushed. Now he finds a little crack in there. And boom, did he zip that thing in there to Rice? And he had to, because there were 2 Falcon defenders right there.
Today, Montana's been sacked once. He's been hurried 5 times. That means the defenders were close. They batted down 2 balls. It's 3rd and 1. And Montana doesn't like what he sees and takes a 49er timeout. I think they only had 10 men on the field, and Montana said he didn't want to operate with those odds. 7-3. Bill Walsh and Joe Montana have had their meeting. It's interesting what has happened. So many people asking questions about the 49ers. This will tell you some of the story.
You know, I think if you look in 1984, they've passed more. This year, they've run more. But the biggest thing here, at halftime last year, they had an average of a 10-point lead. This year, it's only been 1 point. But I still think the biggest thing is right there, the last thing. 13 turnovers this year. Then that means you don't have the ball as much and you can't keep things going the way that you did.
Here's the way they've done it by quarters. Last year, as we mentioned before, almost every game, they lost only 1. They broke on top, and the other team had to play catch-up. It's 3rd and 1 now. 49ers lead it 7-3. They get the first down. Jerry Rice is the receiver. That, again, a call you wouldn't expect on 3rd and short, would you?
Well, I think that they felt that they probably couldn't get the first down. So what they're going to do, running, so they just want to bring Rice there, just come back and hit him right here quick, because there is a cushion or hole in here. Now watch this. Montana's just going to go 1, 2, 3, hit Rice right in that hole. That's not a bad short yardage play.
So it's a 1st and 10 from the 20 as the Niners get some breathing room. Montana goes back to throw it again. And it's incomplete. Roger Craig was the intended receiver. Montana, that time he had time, just missed. And that's another thing that Bill Walsh said was happening to his team. When they had a person open, they either couldn't get the ball there or they dropped it.
And then, of course, then they had the turnovers. And then today, the first time they get the drive going down, they get stopped. They kick the field goal. It hits the bar. They don't get it. These little types of things are here this year that weren't there last year.
On 2nd and 10 from the 20. Montana again drops to throw. Pass incomplete. It'll be 3rd and 10. And again, for a scoring update, let's send you back to New York and Brent Musburger.
Well, Pat, Randall Cunningham from the shotgun trying to go downfield for the Eagles, but Johnny Poe snaps it away and runs it back 40 yards, and the Saints are red hot and rolling. They lead right now 20-0. Let's go back to Pat and John.
5:59 left to play here in the first half in Atlanta. With the 49ers leading the Falcons 7-6. It's 3rd and 10. Falcons have been doing a lot of blitzing. 3rd and long. Let's see if they bring him again. Montana gets it out to Craig, who's wide open again. And he gets enough yardage for the first down, as the Falcons do indeed bring some blitzers.
You know, that's the same type of thing that they got the touchdown on. If they're going to blitz, and if they're not sound, if they don't cover all the guys, we're going to get the guy out that you're not covering. The second time on a blitz, we see it here, it's been Roger Craig. Again, he just sneaked through the line, got to the outside. There was no one there covering him. Of course, to do that, you have to have a mobile quarterback, because you're going to have to let 1 or 2 go.
That's the way Montana has distributed his passes. 8 of them to the running backs, 5 to the wide receivers. Bill Ring over the right side for not much. Al Richardson made the stop.
That Bill Ring is usually on the other end of that, but he's usually the special teams guy who's running down there and making hits like that on kickoff. And he has to run that ball on 1st and 10, and he knows what those kick returns feel like.
He got a yard, so it's 2nd and 9. 49 on 33, and Montana goes right to work. Ooh, intended for Rice, and is he hammered. Scott Case.
Was playing with a separated shoulder.
He was almost separated from everything.
That is the tough one when you come in here.
It's Solomon.
He's going to start to the inside. Freddie Solomon it is. He's led in there. He knew it. Freddie went up. You see, he knew that it was high. He wasn't going to catch it. He brought his hands down to protect himself just before he got hit.
Rice had been playing over there, but what a hit by Case.
Scott Case was just sitting right there in the middle waiting for him. You know, Freddie knew that he didn't have a shot at that ball, and he didn't have a chance to get his hands down in time to really get protected. He was up and exposed.
That was a tough shot, and Freddie, the veteran of 11 years, is still down.
You see here, he knows right now that he's not going to catch it, so he gets down to protect himself, and he really didn't get in a position. Now that is hit square.
San Francisco, in addition to their other problems, don't forget they're still 2-2, and Atlanta 0-4. Both have had a considerable number of injuries. Look on injured reserve for the 49ers.
You know, and I think that top name up there, Michael Carter, who played so well last year as a nose tackle. Bill Walsh figures of all the injuries, that one probably hurts him the most. Look down the list, Fulton Kuykendall was a player that played for the Falcons that they got in a trade. And Ronaldo Nehemiah, you say, where is he? He was injured in training camp. He's on the injured reserve.
And when you start talking about the Falcons and their 0-4 start, look at the 11 players they have on injured reserve.
You know, I know when we started talking about going from 49 to 45, this is one of the things that I thought would happen. You know, that you have 45 active players, but as a result, you're probably going to have a bigger injured reserve list.
We were asking yesterday, as Freddie Solomon is still down, he has moved around a little bit. We're talking yesterday with the Falcon people about William Andrews, who suffered that very severe knee injury last year. And Scott Case, the man who did the hitting, has come out to check and see how Freddie Solomon is getting along. But William Andrews, they say, is back about 85% of what he was, and that's a lot farther than most people thought he would ever be again.
Well, because the biggest thing was William Andrews. He had the knee injury, the knee operation, but then he had the nerve damage. He lost the nerve and the feeling in his leg, and I guess that's coming back now.
While we have a second here, let's go back to New York again for an NFL update and Brent Musburger.
Well, Freddie Solomon is down. Let me show you what the Buccaneers did just moments ago. Steve DeBerger was shaken up and is back through that touchdown pass to Kevin House. The Bucs now lead Chicago. It is 9-0. You know, John Madden, that play you just had out there reminds me of Ronaldo Nehemiah a year ago. He took a blow like that in Atlanta. Let's go back to Pat and John.
Freddie Solomon up and walking and seemingly okay.
In fact, he's smiling now. I think the best thing of that whole picture is that the best thing is he's smiling, and Brent was right. It was about the same area of the field where Ronaldo Nehemiah was hit a year ago.
On 3rd and 9, Montana gets it again to Craig coming out of the backfield. Buddy Curry on the tackle, but Craig scrambled for a first down.
Yeah, they talk about a valuable guy. That Roger Craig sure has to be that guy. They're still working on Freddie over in the sideline, and they look like they're putting ice around his neck area.
7 catches for Craig, 111 yards. 3 touchdowns in last year's Super Bowl. He's the lone setback now. Montana back to go to work. To Clark. Incomplete. Good play by Bobby Butler. Over the top, over the back. But no interference call.
That's an interesting play, Pat, with 2 of their guys. What they do, it's an option. They're going to bring Dwight Clark down here and hook him. And right here, they're going to bring Craig out here. Now, if they drop off, they'll hit Craig. If they come up on Craig, then they're going to hit Clark. But that's not a bad thing. See, they have Clark out here, then they have Clark here, and now they have the straight lane, so they throw it to him. If not, they have Craig on the outside.
Montana gives to Craig. Craig hammers over the left side for about 4. Al Richardson. Word on Freddie Solomon, as you can see, he's still... That's R.C. Owens, by the way, the former great San Francisco receiver, back of him talking to him. He has a concussion, we are told, and probably won't be back. R.C. just saying probably, who am I?
They do that. You know, they used to always put up the fingers, how many fingers, and every doctor and trainer always put 2. The player, you know, if you played long enough and you got ahead of him, you just say 2.
3rd and 6. Montana outside of Craig. Wendell Kaysen bumped him out of bounds as Craig again scrambled close to first down yardage. Didn't make it.
Looks like they just come out here and play catch with Roger Craig, Joe Montana and Roger Craig. Because they've only run 9 times in this first half. But a lot of those passes are in lieu of runs. I mean, they're
almost like
short
runs.
Kind they are. I mean, that little loop pass, and that one there being not enough for the first down.
Max Runiger. Anthony Allen back deep. Watching the ball sail out of bounds on the far side of the field. So with 2:54 left to play in the first half, the 49ers continue to lead Atlanta 7-3. Don't forget, there is great college football next Saturday on CBS. Most of you will see a traditional interstate battle between Michigan and Michigan State. Some of you will see a Pac-10 showdown between UCLA and Stanford. Next Saturday, 2:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific, here on CBS Sports. Check your local listings for the game and time in your area.
Yeah, that Michigan State looked good yesterday. They darn near beat Iowa. Impressive thing. They got a good running back.
Yeah.
Freshman quarterback. All around.
Hawkeyes really had to struggle. Markowski fakes and goes deep to the streaking Stacey Bailey. Incomplete. He almost had it. Good coverage as Eric Wright was right back there with him.
that if I were going to work deep, I would get away from Eric Wright. That's a heck of a throw, though. It looked like Bailey had it in his hand. Eric Wright was there step for step. Steve Bartkowski can probably throw the ball deep as well as any quarterback in the league.
Talking with Eddie LeBaron a few minutes ago before the game started. He has always said that. And it shows that despite all those knee injuries, he can still throw it deep with anybody. With time. Trying to set up a screen and does, and pretty well set. Riggs. A Falcon first down to about the 31-yard line. Right, Hicks on the tackle. 16-yard gain.
You know, it's always impressed me about Gerald Riggs, and we're going to see it here on this screen pass he catches, as for a big guy, he weighs about 235 pounds, but he moves like a halfback. Watch this, he gets his blocks out here, he sets up things, makes that little cut there to the outside. Now he's going to dip back inside, again kick it out to the outside, stumble back in, and all through that pick up the first down.
Bartkowski outside quickly with Billy Johnson. Johnson struggles for what appears to be a first down before Dana McLemore gets him down. A gain of 11. 2-minute warning for both Dan Henning and Bill Walsh, with the 49ers leading 7-3. Pat Summerall, John Madden. We're at Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium. The 49ers leading 7-3 at the half. Brendan Irv, of course, will have all the scores and highlights, and lending a helping hand. Former player, former kicker, Danny Villanueva. Tony Zendejas, who's the Houston Oilers place kicker, and Raul Alegre, all involved in that, lending a helping hand to the victims of the earthquake in Mexico City. Falcons have the ball, their own 42-yard line, just under 2 minutes left to play in the first half, with the 49ers leading 7-3. Pitch is back to Joe Washington. Normally used as a receiver, but picks up about 5 yards. While we have a second now, let's update everybody on some scores. The Buccaneers of Tampa Bay, 9-0 over the unbeaten Bears. And Green Bay with Lynn Dickey back at starting quarterback, and he's thrown a touchdown pass to Eddie Lee Ivory. Lead Detroit 20-3. Packers trying to get back into that NFC Central race. Indianapolis 21, Buffalo 10. Second quarter. Cleveland ahead of New England 14-10. That also in the second quarter. New Orleans shutting out Philadelphia 20-0 in the second. And Miami is going ahead of Pittsburgh 14-10 as Dan Marino hit Dan Johnson with a 2-yard touchdown pass. 1:45 left here. Both teams have 2 timeouts remaining. Fred Dean, who has been quiet for the most part, not just today, all year.
He's been conspicuous by his absence around the quarterback on the passing downs. Bill Walsh said yesterday, we're just waiting for him. During training camp, he had a knee injury and he had arthroscopic surgery. And, you know, again, you just don't come back in this league the first day off surgery and just get a lot of sacks. But one of these days he's going to break loose again. Maybe today.
Here come the 49ers chasing Bartkowski. He aims it in the direction of Washington. The penalty flag goes down. I'm sure he's going to be called for intentional grounding. 49ers put on the heat.
Well, the fans here thought that they were going to call it for unnecessary roughness. There was going to be against Tuiasa Sopo. Then they called it against Bartkowski.
Intentional grounding, number 10, decline.
49ers decline.
You know, for an immobile quarterback, when they took away that really hurt. When they took away the fact that they couldn't throw it away. I've never thought there was anything wrong with that. I think that somewhere to give a guy protection, you ought to let a quarterback throw it away. Then these guys like Bartkowski and Dickey and Fouts, these guys have a chance.
rid of it. Pass is caught. A flag is down back where Bartkowski threw from. Billy Johnson was the receiver. McLemore was the defender.
And the flag, I'm sure, was going to be holding against the Falcons here. It's in that area. Someone caught him, and they zoomed it right in at one of those offensive linemen.
Holding, 78, Klein, 4th down.
Call against Mike Ken.
You know, he's a guy, you know, that's been in the Pro Bowl numerous times. Mike Ken, 5 times he's been in the Pro Bowl. He went a couple years without having a holding penalty. In fact, I bet that was a close one.
I'll bet.
In fact, maybe it's not. Let's see if we can see it. Here he has his hands there. He's working on Fred Dean. I don't know. You can't see it there unless that left hand may have pulled something.
It was a close one, though, like you said. Donnelly in the direction of McLemore. Flag goes down. They were really bothering the cover men.
Well, and it's Eric Wright again. You know, he's had one penalty for chopping. It's thrown in the area of Eric Wright. The first thing the official threw was a hat. That means they went out of bounds. The second thing was his flag. That official had a double difference. See, the one without the hat threw his hat first, threw the flag second. Now, he'd have trouble if he found a third penalty. I think the third thing is the bag they carry. And they can throw their whistle and their shoes and their belt. See that little bag they got?
Yeah.
There it goes.
Then you got to go to the shirt, I guess.
The shirt. They got socks, microphones. They got a lot of stuff they can throw if they really catch a lot.
But then think how long it would say to
Unsportsmanlike,
take him to
hitting the receiver out of bounds, offense, 1st down.
hit him out of bounds. Unsportsmanlike.
Well, that unsportsmanlike was again against Eric Wright. You know, he does that. He's the corner there, and he takes that outside guy who's going down to cover on punts, and he just dogs him all the way down the field. That time he dogged him right out of bounds and dogged him into a 15-yard penalty.
That was Wagner that he was after. The outside man for Atlanta. So it's 1st down, 49ers.
Wagner didn't get halfway down there, though, you know. He didn't. He was about halfway to the ball.
Rice is the motion man. Gives to Craig. Oh, it's Tyler. Wendell Tyler crashes out outside the 25. Reggie Pleasant. 13-yard gain.
49ers are going with no huddle here.
Montana back to throw, gets it out to Craig. Craig struggles for a couple. Bobby Butler was the defender. 49ers back in a hurry, and now they're going to call a timeout. They have one left.
That's one of the things Bill Walsh wanted to do today, not only in his 2-minute stuff at the end of the half and the end of the game, but he wanted to go more no huddle on 3rd down so that the Falcons couldn't get in their extra defensive backs and their blitz defenses. Really, this is the first time he's done it, but he would like to do that in other situations.
Well, next Sunday, CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League will continue with a doubleheader. John Madden and I will be in Cincinnati to see the Bengals take on the New York Giants. The other games include the Lions against the Washington Redskins, the Rams at Tampa, or the St. Louis Cardinals against the Philadelphia Eagles. By the way, that game has been moved because of the baseball playoffs. In the second half of our doubleheader, most of you will see a rematch of last year's NFC Championship game as the Bears take on the 49ers. Irv Cross will be out there to bring you live reports on all the action. Other games include the Falcons against the Seattle Seahawks. All that coming up next week on CBS, so check your local listings for the game and time in your area. Second and 6 at the 29. Montana back to throw. Pass complete to Dwight Clark. They'll move the sticks. A gain of 12. Again, no huddle.
I'm sure they want to get this one out of bounds.
Almost picked off by Reggie Pleasant. He had some running room in front of him if he could hold on.
I think Joe Montana to Dwight Clark and let him get out of bounds. He threw that just a little short, and Reggie Pleasant got a pretty good jump on it. That would have been a score for the Falcons had Pleasant held on to that ball.
Montana would have been the only man who had a chance at tackling him.
He would have been a goat on that one.
Second and 10 at 41. Montana back to throw again. Gets it outside to Wendell Tyler. Tyler gets out of bounds. Wendell Kaysen chasing him.
Well, the 49ers now are just about midfield, and I think to get in Ray Wersching's field goal range that they would need another 20 yards.
They have, excuse me, John, 34 seconds remaining and one timeout remaining.
See, if they could hit about a 20-yard pass, then they could use their timeout and kick the field goal.
3rd and 1. Montana's going after it. Probably Russ Francis for the first down completion, and they take their last timeout with 28 seconds remaining in the first half.
That's why you hate to waste a timeout, because now you're sitting there without one and you have to get the field goal.
Again, coming up at the half, Brendan Irv will bring you up to date on the scores and highlights of today's NFL action. And we'll take a look at how some of the NFL players, past and present, are helping the Mexican Earthquake Relief Fund. Ex-kicker Danny Villanueva, Raul Alegre of the Indianapolis Colts, and Tony Zendejas of the Houston Oilers. In Atlanta, as Joe Montana has completed his conference with Bill Walsh, Montana is 19 out of 33. And we're still in the first half, 210 yards and 1 touchdown.
You know, the tough thing here, by not having a timeout, and we only have 28 seconds left, and not having a timeout, really, you have to be able to get the ball out of bounds or go to the end zone.
A lone setback. They go quickly to John Frank, and he gets out of bounds at about the 35. Wendell Kaysen knocked him out. 23 seconds remaining on the clock.
Well, right now at the 35, that would be a 52-yard field goal for Ray Wersching. Oh, there's a penalty.
A pretty good wind would help Wersching if he does make the attempt. What's that penalty flag?
I don't know. It's against the Falcons. They threw it right at the Falcons, who were in a huddle. It had to be, yeah. It was 12 men in the field, because we see one guy coming off. They fight. That's what happened. The official countered him back at the huddle. I was wondering, I've never seen a flag thrown at a huddle, but it had to be for having 12 guys out there. That's exactly what it was.
Well, doesn't he have a chance to get off?
No, it was from the last play.
Oh, from the last play.
It was the last play, and then they started counting it as they were going back, and they threw it at him back in the huddle, and the Falcons were in a 4-4-4.
Delayed, 12 men on the field, first down.
That 4-4-4 can be tough.
And that's a good place to play it at the end of the half when you're trying to prevent it. You get in the old 4-4-4. We got you. What do you mean all those guys were doubled? They only got 11 guys. Oh, no.
That makes it 1st and 5, and Montana has another ball deflected, but it still got to John Frank, and he couldn't hold on.
Well, I felt the 49ers had to get down inside the 30. They only have about, well, they moved the ball back. They have 7 yards. I thought they were about the 35 before. But now I still think they have to get inside the 30-yard line.
You can see that breeze blowing the ribbons up on top of the goalpost. Up on top of the stadium, it's going in one direction, and down there another direction. Frank lowers his shoulder, but does get out of bounds in the arms of Wendell Kaysen.
You see what John Frank did on the sideline back there. He knew he had to get out of bounds, but he tried to get a little extra distance there to help his kicker, Ray Wersching. Right at the end, he could have ran out of bounds there. He said, no, I'm going to take this guy on and get about 3 more yards, get that closer to that goal line.
13 seconds left to play. quickly again, goes outside again. This time to Dwight Clark, and methodically they move it down the field. Square out after square out. They got the clock stopped with 9 seconds to play, and Wershing comes on.
I'll tell you, there's no one any better at that than Joe Montana.
Notice number 14, Wershing, never looks up at the goalpost. He just gets his range and his direction by location on the hash marks. And he pats his holder, in this case Kavanaugh, and says, "Help me, help me." Right down between the pipes. From 37 yards out, Wershing is true, and the 49ers take a 10-3 lead with 5 seconds left to play in the first half.
Something the way Joe Montana took that team, and after he used his last timeout, he knew that he couldn't get any more timeouts, and just boom, 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 hit the sidelines, got out of bounds, got Ray Wershing into that good field position.
He made it look like you draw it on the board, didn't he? They went back to the beginning of that drive when they didn't go back into the huddle. Got off as many plays as possible. Montana already thrown 36 passes in the first half. Picked up 228 yards.
He looks different now. He looks like he's a father. You know, he used to have that you know, kind of innocent schoolboy type thing, college guy. And now he looks like a mature NFL quarterback, fatherly type guy.
He used to wear a baseball cap on the sideline. Now he keeps his helmet on. I guess that's a sign of being a father.
Never know where the enemy is.
Wershing will kick it off, probably try to bounce it. Look at this. The up man hit it quick. Wershing had to go back and get it. And how about this one? They stopped the clock. Now they say there is no time left, so that's the end of the first half. That was Ronnie Washington, who does like to hit people, and I guess he likes to hit the football too. Knocked it back past Wershing.
You always tell the center on your return team to get away. Don't get right in front of the ball. Washington was right in front of the ball. Ray Wershing line drived it at him. It hit him. Wershing made a pretty good recovery there. Pretty good agility for a kicker.
That's the end of the first half then. The 49ers got their touchdown on a pass from Montana to Roger Craig on a Falcon blitz. They went 46 yards on that completion. Atlanta got a 45-yard field goal from Luckhurst, and the 49ers just got a 37-yarder from Ray Wershing. So the situation at the half is the 49ers struggling a bit, but leading. The Falcons 10-3.
You know, the last time that these two teams played, it was tight in the half, and the 49ers came out and scored 35 points in the second half.
Well, right now at Fulton County Stadium, we are at halftime, and it's 10-3 San Francisco.
Well, welcome back to New York, and Irv Cross, one of the two unbeatens under fire down in the state of Florida right now. The Chicago Bears, they kick a field goal late in the first half. They trail the Buccaneers. The count is 12-3. You know, early on, Irv, you could tell that the Bears were flat.
Boy, I tell you, but Tampa Bay's defense is really pumped up, Brent. They felt they came in this game really rocking. They could force an upset.
But it was the Bears defense that held off a possible touchdown here. Watch Wilbur Marshall get to Steve DeBerg, takes him down. He was knocked out for a series. Alan Risher entered the game. He could not get the Buccaneers into the end zone. They kick a field goal. Now watch intentional grounding here by the Bear quarterback. No doubt about it. The Buccaneer defense all over him. But then it was DeBerg and Kevin House.
Well, yeah, House scored this touchdown, but really Jimmy Giles has been a big factor in the first half. Watch this. Inbounds, touchdown. The funny thing about that, though, is the defensive back stopped at the goal line. Why didn't he go with him?
I know, and you mentioned Giles, 7 catches, 112 yards in the first half of that game. Detroit and Green Bay, the Packers are dominating the Lions right now. 20-3, they are at the half of that one. Buffalo and Indianapolis. Hank Bulla makes his coaching coaching debut with the Bills, but the Colts have jumped all over Buffalo. It is 28-10 late in the second quarter of that one. A wild Donnybrook. Bernie Kosar forced to quarterback the Browns for a time because Gary Danielson suffered a shoulder injury. On the first snap to the youngster out of Miami, he fumbled it. They did recover, and they lead by a point at the half. Philadelphia and New Orleans. How about this? Bum Phillips. Last week, he stunned San Francisco. Yes, indeed. Give me another birthday gift, and he'll take it. Dave Wilson, except for that horrendous first week, has thrown the ball very well. And here he is going to Eugene Goodlow in the end zone, and the Saints jumped ahead by 10 points. What happened to Reggie White?
He bruised his ribs. He had a big game last week against the Giants, tipping a couple of balls and forcing some interceptions.
This is an interception for a touchdown by Johnny Poe. What about Randall Cunningham?
Well, Randall Cunningham came in this game with a sprained ankle. On that pass, you have to really drive off your leg, get some force on it, and he couldn't do it.
They had him out, and Ron Jaworski came in, and he got the Eagles on the board late in the first half, hitting John Spagnuolo. 20-7 the count there with the Saints ahead. Rematch of the AFC Championship. Steelers leading the Dolphins 17-14. They did it late on a pass from Malone to Thompson in that game. Danny Marino has gone to Dan Johnson, 2 yards for one of the Dolphin touchdowns. San Francisco and Atlanta. Joe Montana's having a big afternoon, but the 49ers have been unable to get the ball into the end zone for Bill Walsh, except on this play right here. You won't believe it. The Falcons send everybody but the sink after him. Here comes 9 guys. Roger Craig is there, and Irv, you got to tell me what happened on this play defensively.
I hate to do this to you, but we used to call this play sticky sit. Everybody comes. The end man on the line must pick the first back up, but he blitzed. Wide open.
And look at that. They're all going inside, and Craig says, give it to me. Look at the wide open spaces I'm about to head for, and he's got it. Touchdown. Now we see in this sequence, Freddie Solomon is going to take one of the hardest licks of the season. Right there, almost similar to the same spot where Ronaldo Nehemiah was hit, but fortunately we saw smiling Freddie Solomon over there on the sideline, and he was not injured seriously. And the NFL Today continues on CBS after these messages from your local stations. Welcome back to our studios in New York. You know, all too often we lose track of football players after they leave the game. But Danny Villanueva, that spunky little punter and place kicker for the Rams and Cowboys in the 60s, recently came to our attention because of his efforts in a campaign that has nothing at all to do with the sport. And this week we sent Gary Paul Gates out to Los Angeles to look into that story.
Danny Villanueva played for 8 years in the NFL, but to perform on that level, he had to overcome several obstacles.
I got as much as I could out of my God-given abilities and my limitations of size. I was a short, fat, slow Mexican-American.
That determination to succeed against the odds has carried over into Danny's work after football. For the past 17 years, his professional life has been here at KMEX-TV, where he is now president and station manager. This Spanish-language station is the voice of Southern California's large Hispanic community. And one day last month, that voice broadcast a report that touched Mexican Americans in a special way.
The Mexican capital lives through some dramatic moments today as a result of a strong earthquake.
It soon became clear that Mexico had been hit by a disaster of epic proportions. At least 5,500 dead, another 10,000 injured, and thousands of buildings destroyed or severely damaged.
My first reaction was I uttered something religious, and I said, we have to move as fast as we can. Let's get all the help we can. And my reaction was one of action.
So Danny mobilized his staff into action and launched a fundraising drive to help the victims. Several Hollywood celebrities joined in the effort, which came to a climax with a telethon that raised more than $5 million in record time.
A young man from one of the networks told me, he said, Danny, you've taken broadcasting to another level. You were not only part of the news, because we were giving the first feeds to all the people in the United States and networks, but now you're part of the solution.
Even after the telethon, Villanueva continued the relief campaign, and 2 current kickers in the NFL, Tony Zendejas of Houston and Raul Alegre of the Colts, are donating to the cause.
I feel a moral obligation to do it, and even though as little as it is, it might be of help.
Football in college, even in pro, is simply a means to an end. It gives us a wonderful opportunity, but it carries with it an incredible obligation that we have to a lot of people who look up to professional athletes.
Football is often described as a war, a life and death struggle, but that is just part of the hype. Football is a game that kids play after school, and highly skilled men play on autumn afternoons for our entertainment. Men like Danny Villanueva understand the difference between that and real life and death struggles. And they also understand that even in the midst of such a tragedy, one can find salvation and hope for the future.
We're resilient people, and over the years we've known a lot of hard times, and we'll survive this one too.
For the NFL Today, I'm Gary Paul Gates.
Oh, what a marvelous thing that is that Danny accomplished out there in Los Angeles. I know that he was a former teammate of yours.
Yeah, I remember Danny as a kickoff man who kicked the ball short down the 10 or 20-yard line. And in those days, you had a point man from the offensive team coming after the kicker. Danny oftentimes wasn't too anxious to go down there.
All right. Let's send you back to the stadium now and the game you're enjoying on CBS.
Halftime in Atlanta with the 49ers leading the Falcons 10-3. 49ers came out throwing. Montana's already thrown 36 passes. You think they'll continue that?
Well, of course, of those passes, Roger Craig has caught 9 of them for over 100 yards already in the first half, and that's what Atlanta's going to have to stop. Now, the 49ers have big numbers, but a 10-3 lead, I'm sure, isn't what they wanted. Now, the thing that the Falcons have established to me is the fact that they can protect Steve Bartkowski. He's only been sacked once in the first half, and a guy with an arm that strong and some speed on the outside, they can hit at any time. I was the 49ers. That's what I'd be worried about.
It's sort of an ominous feeling that you get after you accumulate all those yards and all those completions and still only have 10 points.
That's the thing, you know, and that's the way the 49ers have been going this year. As Bill Walsh said, we've been doing it. We've been moving the ball, but something always comes up that we don't get to score or win the game the way we should.
So it looks like it will be indeed a very interesting second half as both teams have come back on the field. Halftime score in Atlanta then, 49ers 10, Falcons 3. Clear, bright, breezy day in Atlanta. John, we were talking before the game. This would seem like temperature in the 60s, maybe not even that warm. No clouds. It would seem like this would be the perfect day to play football, but there really is no such thing, is there?
No, I mean, it's a different thing because the quarterbacks always like a warmer, calm day. The little guys, the receivers, the defensive backs, they like it warmer. They like it up there around 80 degrees. These big linemen that sweat a lot and have to carry that stuff, they like it about 50. So the ideal weather for the big guys isn't for the small guys. The thing when the small guys say, oh, this is a great day, the big guys say, I'm going to lose 20 pounds of sweat on this deal.
And then, of course, there are the kickers, and it's windy, and kickers and throwers hate the wind.
I remember a game a couple of weeks ago, Luis Sharp, the big tackle for the St. Louis Cardinals, his first game back, a rainstorm game, and he said, thank goodness, it's the only way I could have made it through that game. And then all the quarterbacks said, oh, we couldn't throw the ball, we fumbled, it was wet, but he loved it. He said it saved him.
Mick Luckhurst will kick off left-footed for the Atlanta as we begin the second half. 49ers 26-2 record when they're leading at the half since 1983.
I think the one thing that's been interesting, though, is they haven't led by as much at the half this year as they used to.
They're up by 7. Luckhurst signals that he's ready. Carl Monroe back deep. That's Monroe at the goal line. He goes down, and a penalty flag goes down right next to him. Tim Tyrell was the man down to make the hit, and he's still down. Freddie Wyatt signals, the referee signals that the penalty is against San Francisco. It's Tyrell who made the tackle, who was down.
Holding number 54.
Holding against the 49ers. Ron Ferrari is guilty of the holding violation. Let's see if we can find out what went on. It's on Wagoner.
You know, the tough thing here with these kicking rules now is the fact that once you make contact, you can't hold them, and you can't block them below the waist, and you can't have contact from behind. So after you hit them once, there's not much you can do. And that's how they got Ferrari. I mean, that didn't look bad to me.
No.
What else could he have done?
Moves the 49ers back to their own 10-yard line. Montana 21 out of 36 for 229 yards in the first half. That was far better than the whole game last week.
Well, and the last time they were here, just before the half, they started about this same position. Montana drove them the length of the field. Field goal.
Rice and Clark come wide to the right. And Montana goes right back to the air. Gets it out to Wendell Tyler, who's wrapped up as soon as he gets the ball by Tom Pridemore. Tyler out of the backfield.
You know, eventually every team that plays the 49ers on these first down passes are just going to jump on Tyler right on the line of scrimmage, jump on Roger Craig, and not let him have that cushion, because that's who he's going to.
Second and 5.
Craig or Tyler.
Those kind of completions. That'll make it 2nd and 5. Again, he goes to work. This time to Clark. It's complete. He's out of bounds. Wendell casing the defender, but Montana and Clark hook up for a gain of 12 and a first down.
That there, he makes it look so easy, doesn't he? Dwight Clark, you say, well, why don't you do that all day? Just run up, run out in front of him, and throw him the ball. I think Clark was taking off some clothes at that halftime. You notice that in the first half, he had some stuff hanging underneath his jersey. Now he's bare armed. He got a little warm out there.
Good observation. Goes right back. About 8. Again, it's Wendell Cason out there with him.
Although he did keep the scuba gloves, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. But he had some, not elbow pads, some kind of wrapping around his elbow.
Usually that's the stuff that they wear on artificial turf field, you know, to keep those turf burns, and maybe just realize they're playing on grass today.
They need 3 yards, and Craig gets it over the left side. Johnny Taylor made the stop, but Roger Craig gets the first down for the 49ers.
Yeah, it's funny, the 49ers last year, they only lost 1 game all season. They've already lost twice that this year, but I still feel that this team right now is still the best team in the NFL.
The 49ers.
Yes.
Right, wide to the right. Montana looking in that direction. Gets it on the screen out. Craig. Red Farnhorst in front of him. Roger Craig gets into Falcon territory to about their 44 before Scott Case can get him out of bounds. Gain of 16.
Like they got a hunk of that jersey on Craig on that play, but he can do these things so well. Montana can throw him too, but Craig, he catches a ball on a screen like this, gets in the open field. He has that good speed, the good move to take a little, 2-yard play and make a 15-yard gainer out of it. A lot of that is just Roger Craig. Look at that. They go to tackle him, and they just come up with a handful of jersey.
Montana back to throw. The Falcons flush him out of the pocket. He goes out of bounds after a gain of about 6. Buddy Curry chasing him.
That's the thing I think that Joe Montana and today's quarterback has to do is be able to run with the ball. Not necessarily run it as he did that play, but run it and throw it, run it and get rid of it. But don't just keep taking those banging sacks.
He got 3, make it 2nd and 7 at the Atlanta 40. 12:48 left to play third quarter. He stopped. Montana thought he was going to continue to run. He stopped, and then he couldn't hang on.
I think the way people are starting to play for the 49ers now on defense is just taking this line of linebacker and just keeping this a real short line so that there's no underneath. Now, I want you to hear, usually you want to get your guys back deep. We can stop it right here. Now we see, here's the two guys they're worried about, and they're keeping these guys short in here, not getting them deep. You see, and everyone's going to start playing them that way. Crowd those short guys.
Montana has a receiver over the middle. It was Roger Craig. It bounced off his hands. It's incomplete. Tom Pridemore was the defender. They'll have to punt.
Craig looks like he's been in a battle coming off the field. His socks were down, his jersey was ripped off.
Had a busy day.
They know my number, 33. Someone told them about me.
Bruniger with Anthony Allen back deep for the Falcons at the 10. Bruniger gets it off, no roughing. Allen has to let it bounce. The 49ers are down to cover it. They bat it back, and they'll down to the 4. Jeff Fuller was down in a hurry, and he's the 49er who batted the ball back before it went into the end zone. Good play by Fuller. 10-3, 49ers lead.
Here's Jeff Fuller, and the play that he makes on that last punt. You know, the first thing they want to do is get down to get into position to make a tackle, but don't let that ball go in the end zone. By that play that Fuller made, the 49ers were able to pick up 16 yards of field position.
So the Falcons will operate from deep in their own territory. Riggs struggles out to about the 5. Maybe got a yard. Outstanding play by Jeff Fuller.
You know, those things really don't look like big plays. You know, the guy hits it out. You say, but really, when you start thinking of field position, if that ball goes in, and of course the Falcons get it on the 20. By stopping it there, they're inside the 5, and that's totally different football you have to play there.
Gain of 1 for Riggs. It's 2nd and 9. He's still the lone setback. They fake to Riggs. They get it outside. Stacey Bailey was the receiver. Eric Wright was the defender.
You know, Stacey Bailey's an interesting guy. They measure the Falcons' body fat. Stacey Bailey was only 2.1. He only weighs 150 pounds, and it's a problem for him because he gets more cramps, he gets sickness and so on, and they really want their wide receivers and defensive backs to be like 5 to 7% body fat. And he has trouble getting to 3%.
He eats, drinks, tries everything to get it up into that area.
Well, I could help him.
White Shoes Johnson, the move man. Here's Barkowski, just barely gets rid of it. Anthony Allen was the intended receiver. Barkowski is down in the end zone. He has a bruised left thigh.
And they're always worried about him. We know his right knee. He's had that right knee operated on 5 times. He has an injured, bruised left leg from last week, and that was his right knee that got it on that play. Luckily, he has that brace on there. I bet that brace saved something.
Young Dave Archer over on the sideline warming up.
Bartkowski's going to have to come out. I mean, he's a sitting duck when he can move, and he can't move at all. They're going to have to take him out.
They got the first down, however, on a penalty. There was defensive holding called against the 49ers, and that's what got him the first down. Bartkowski is going to stay in the game. Limping back into the huddle. Now he really is a sitting duck back there.
I'll tell you, if he, you know, you got to get him out. Maybe it's just going to be one play to let Archer warm up.
Hand off to Riggs, which is what it is, and he only barely made it back to the line of scrimmage. Bartkowski looking over at the sideline, and here comes Archer.
Watch Bartkowski, even on the handoff pad, he's limping out there, and it's that right knee. He just can't put that foot in the ground. They have to take him out.
There he comes out, and Dave Archer goes in. Archer, 6'2", 203, a 2-year man from Iowa State. I think Dan Henning really had some doubts yesterday as to whether or not Bartkowski would be able to make it. Now, this man, Archer, adds another dimension. He gets it outside quickly to White Shoes Johnson. And Johnson is hammered out of bounds by Jeff Stover on the pursuit.
Well, you see that he's already thrown 34 passes this year. He's played some last week when Bartkowski was injured, but before that, they were bringing him in. In fact, the last time they played the 49ers, they brought him in as a third down quarterback.
3rd and 4 of the Falcons. They are 0 for 6 in their third down conversions. Archer, the quarterback. Joe Washington is the setback behind him. Archer back to throw. The 49ers blitz it. He does get it out to White Shoes Johnson, and Billy Johnson gets the Falcon first down out to about the 32, and they get some breathing room. Ronnie Lott and Dwight Hicks on the stop.
I remember playing for years against Billy White Shoes Johnson, and he was probably maybe the best punt returner that ever played in this game. And just to see him out there in front and making those types of moves reminds me of when he was a punt returner. Because, he'd just go and dance around and make everyone miss. And I'll tell you, when you were a coach standing on that other sideline, you didn't like to see this guy with the ball in the open field.
A gain of 16. Archer on a semi-rollout, trying to buy some time, gets it to Riggs, and he's got some blockers. Riggs hammers out of bounds at about the 44-yard line of Atlanta, and another Falcon first down. Eric Wright took him out of bounds.
That's an interesting play, and it's the type of thing that you can do with a quarterback like Dave Archer. Watch, he's going to start to sprint to the right. See, make everyone think of sprint. He's going to stop and throw back across the field, and the screen is set up to that side.
First and 10 at the 44. 49ers leading 10-3. Benson was the move man. Archer gets it to Arthur Cox, the tight end, who nudges into San Francisco territory as Ricky Ellison brings him down with Tina Turner.
Arthur Cox has only caught 4 passes so far this season. That's his 5th. Last year he caught 34, but they really haven't been using their tight ends as pass receivers much this year. Maybe that's the difference. You get an Archer in there, and sometimes they just have a different way to look at things. They start throwing the ball to different guys.
Word on Bartkowski, by the way, is that it is his right knee, and it's doubtful that he'll be back. Fake to Riggs. Throw by Archer. Billy Johnson was the intended receiver. He never stopped, and Archer threw it way behind him.
That's the thing. I think Archer had to get rid of the ball on that play. He was getting rushed, and whether he thought it was another pattern or not, he did the right thing.
4 out of 5 is Archer. Bob Holly is warming up over on the sideline now, the other Falcon quarterback.
Well, they just signed Holly this week when Bartkowski was injured last week, and they knew that they were going to play with Archer. Then they're down to 1 quarterback, and they said, we got to get another guy in here. We just can't go this way.
49ers showing blitz, then they don't come. Archer comes out of the pocket, is chased, and down he goes. As Jeff Stover, who's had a good day.
That was the thing that the 49ers were working on. They said when Archer comes in the game, we're going to play roll out. Roll out pass. We see Stover coming all the way across the field to make that play. But when Archer's in the game, the 49er defense is playing rollout. When Bartkowski, of course, is in there playing everything straight back pass.
That was the 49ers' 3rd sack of Atlanta quarterbacks today, if you consider that to be a sack. Dana McLemore back deep, number 43. Rick Donnelly to punt to the Falcons. Another good kick. McLemore's going to let this one bounce, and it takes a funny bounce. Comes out of bounds, stayed up there 4.5 seconds. Bounced in the opposite direction from what you'd expect. And the 49ers will take over. Bartkowski on the sideline. There's Steve Bartkowski over on the sideline, and that's his knee in the brace.
That's that Lennox Hill brace, that was made famous by Joe Namath. It really takes the place of your ligaments.
49ers have it. Back goes Montana again. Looking and finding Russ Francis. First down, San Francisco outside their own 30. Jeff Jackson was the tackler. Gain of 14.
You know, it's funny about the 49ers, Pat, how they hit all the passes in that same area. That area from the line of scrimmage about 5 or 6 yards deep. They just put different people in there. It's been Roger Craig mostly in the first half, Wendell Tyler. We've seen Dwight Clark go in that area, John Frank, and now Russ Francis.
Again, here is Montana with a screen pass to Roger Craig. With some room is Craig. Hammered out of bounds by Scott Case. Scott Case does not shy away from contact, does he?
He enjoys the collision. I'll tell you, big Keith Fawnhorst, you know, he's been in this league for 12 years, but he's been doing a good job of blocking on these screen passes. Watch, he's on the left of the screen. He just goes out now. Craig sneaks out, gets the thing. There's Fawnhorst right there. Out in front, boom, he gets a collapse job darn near, but that was the thing that got Craig that first down.
Side gets away from one man, breaks a tackle. Wendell Tyler, what an outstanding run. Bobby Butler made the stop. A gain of 12 by Tyler, and he did it all by himself.
And I'll tell you one thing, Wendell Tyler gets yardage like that because of the way he runs. And somewhere along the way, he fumbles because of the way he runs. You know, so which do you want? He's already had 4 fumbles in 4 games. But he's an aggressive runner. He's an aggressive player. And he does hang that ball out there a little.
Falcons had him right at the line of scrimmage. He bounced out of it and got a first down. And he gets a rest. Derek Harmon, the pass receiver. Tom Pridemore, the defender.
Derek Harmon is going to be something. I think, you know, when Wendell Tyler isn't playing anymore, is going to be replaced someday, it's going to be this guy, Derek Harmon. He's in his 2nd year. He's an Ivy League guy from Cornell. But he does all those things well. He's a good pass receiver, and he's a good runner.
Gain of 4, 2nd and 6. 49ers at the Falcon 35. Montana back. Kenneth for Craig, incomplete. Just a little behind him.
Craig was shaking his head over there at someone. I don't know if it was an official or saying it was out of bounds or saying that that hit didn't hurt. Yeah, boxers do that sometimes. They get them, boom, you know, and then they go, no, it didn't hurt me. He could have been doing that. Watch, you're saying, if that's as hard as you can hit me, look, I'm stretched out there, boom. Oh, he knocked the other guy down. That's what it is. It is like the boxers. Look, good luck. Hey, no. No, you can't hurt me.
That is Wendell Cason that he hit. Here comes the Falcons on a blitz. And they get it out to Craig again. Craig cuts back inside, down to the 20. Pridemore tripped him up. After Roger Craig catches the ball, you better look out.
Roger Craig somewhere got his jersey fixed, or a new jersey. Remember the last time we saw him, he had a ripped jersey. This guy looks like he has fun playing, doesn't he?
He does.
Craig, when you see him out there, this is his 10th or 11th pass he's caught. Look, he got that high knee action up the field. Look, you know, head on a swivel, cutting in and out, getting tackled, hitting guys. Guys piling on him. He looks like he loves it.
12 catches for 167 yards. That ties the 49er record. Here's Tyler. And he hurdles down to about the 16. Lawrence Pillars made the stop.
That's right. We were talking about Fulton Kuykendall. He was traded for Lawrence Pillars. That's the thing now. Remember in the old days, they had the old water bucket out there and flash a little in your mouth. Now they guys go over there, run and get oxygen.
2nd and 7. Rice in motion. Montana back to throw. Gets it outside of Tyler. Tyler inside the 10 to about the 8. He'll ring in the game involving a shoving match with Scott Case.
Yeah, one thing about Wendell Tyler, the fact that he has been a fumbler, when he gets a ball, they really draw a crowd because everyone thinks if they can get to him and hit him, they may get the ball. Watch him here. He cuts in. They're going to come from straight ahead, right, left. Watch that convergence on Wendell Tyler. Where'd that last guy come from, he said.
Those 12 catches by Craig, by the way, as I mentioned, ties the all-time 49er record for number of catches. It was held by Dwight Clark. Bernie Casey had 11. Flag is down. Craig is hit hard over the right side on 1st and goal from the 9. Flag is down. Penalty marker.
It's going to be against the 49ers. I think they had some mix-up on the formation. They're going to have illegal motion. Joe Montana had to move someone.
Illegal motion, number 80. First down.
Rice was in motion.
Well, I know Joe Montana, before the snap of the ball, was moving someone over to his right side. Bill Walsh is saying, you know, that's the type of stuff Bill Walsh doesn't like. You know, that type of thing, you get down there, someone doesn't line up right. Those types of things would drive him crazy.
Earl Cooper has come in. 1st and goal from the 14 for Montana. Wide open is Wendell Tyler. Touchdown, San Francisco. Montana's second touchdown pass of the day. Both to his running backs.
Well, Bill Walsh was saying yesterday that the Atlanta Falcons do some unsound things. He said, I hope we can just get the right guy doing the right thing when they do the unsound things. That's the second time they've done that, and the second touchdown.
Worshing for the extra point. Matt Cavanaugh, the holder, and it's good. So with 3:24 left to play, 3rd quarter, the 49ers extend their lead to 17-3. Worshing will kick it off. 3:24 left, 3rd quarter, 49ers leading 17-3. To the 25.
You know, Roger Craig has caught 12 passes. Now watch what happens. He goes here. Wendell Tyler is going to sneak up here on that touchdown. Both these linebackers go out with Craig. Now watch what happens here. Watch the linebacker. One is supposed to cover Tyler. Watch it here. Stop it here. Here's both these guys out here. Here's Wendell Tyler. I have no idea what this safety's doing. Wendell Tyler just 2 on Craig because he's caught the 12 passes, none on Tyler, and a weak safety throws him.
Archer back to throw, and has to stay incomplete. Stacey Bailey spun away from one 49er and got an Atlanta 1st down. Got away from Mike Walter.
Remember him? He was drafted number 2 by the Dallas Cowboys. Gil Brandt at that time said that he will be the starting outside linebacker at the end of the training camp.
And for years to come.
Yeah. They waived him.
Archer gives to Riggs. Riggs picks his way for about 9 yards. 9 tough, good yards. For a scoring update, let's go back to New York. And here's Brent Musburger.
Well, Pat and John, here it is. Chicago climbing back in against Tampa Bay. Jim McMahon, his 10th touchdown pass of the season. And he hits his number 1 target in that situation, Dennis McKinnon. 12-10. Back to Pat and John.
Clock running at 2:05 left to play, 3rd quarter in Atlanta. As San Francisco leads 17-3. It's 2nd and 1 for the Atlanta Falcons. To Riggs. Riggs has the 1st down. Just in 49er territory, Dwayne Board on the bottom of the pile. 1st down.
you, when the Falcons get in that short yardage situation, they end up with 3 tight ends over on one side, and then they just power in there behind that right side, behind Brett Miller and the 3 tight ends. That gives them some what they call power on the perimeter.
It sure does. It gives them some weight on the perimeter, too.
That's coaching talk. Is, oh, they got a lot of power on the perimeter.
Archer got some time for a minute. Finally gets it off. Whit Benson was the receiver. Archer running for his life as the 49ers put the pressure on. Carlton Williamson made the stop.
Looked like Archer thought that the pressure was there before it got there. Then he decided, I get another chance here. I'm going to throw this ball out here to Benson. Watch him here. He starts the thing together. Oh, now he goes, there's Benson. Just dump it off here. Pick up about 3 yards, which isn't bad as long as it's first down. See, what they try and do is we see Mike Ken taking Dwayne Board to the inside. You want to invite the guy up, then take him in. Board just didn't stay in there.
Archer 6 out of 7 is going to throw it again. As a man first down, Billy White Shoes Johnson. Carlton Williamson on the stop. That's a good throw.
Hey, because he did throw that thing in a crowd. There were about 4 white jerseys around Billy White Shoes Johnson. Dave Archer just zipped that ball in there. Let's see if we can see the coverage from here. He goes on a play fake, looks to his left. Now he sees White Shoes, and he really throws it. There was 4 guys. He found the opening.
So that's the end of the third quarter with the score San Francisco 17, the Atlanta Falcons 3.
Let's watch it. You know, we always talk about lanes and zones. Here's a linebacker. Here's a linebacker. Now Archer got that ball right through here to Billy White Shoes Johnson, who's working back in front of this defender. You see the zone? That's what it looks like. The ball is thrown right between those 2 linebackers and in front of the secondary.
Archer breaks out of the grasp of the 49er tackler, scrambles. Ronnie Lott is there with him. Touchdown. Scrambles 29 yards for a score. He broke away from Dwight Hicks.
He made a heck of a move in the open play on Dwight Hicks. Look, Hicks is the outside guy. He reads it. He's coming running up right there. Watch him move, and Archer puts on him. Then bursts by him, causes Hicks to move. Miss. When Hicks misses, the only other guy there is Ronnie Lott, and he doesn't get there till the goal line.
The extra point by Luckhurst is good. And it's 17-10. We'll return to Fulton County Stadium after this word from your local station. Carl Monroe has taken the kickoff, and he comes out of the pack with it and gets outside the 30.
Let's watch that touchdown again of Dave Archer. He's going to roll out here. Here comes Dwight Hicks free. He misses there, gets a little straight arm there. Watch Archer as he comes out. Now if we can stop it here, we can see all the 49ers are over here, and it's just Hicks against Archer. Right there, Archer breaks away. Watch how he does it. He gives a little stiff arm with that right arm.
Got him right beside the helmet. Montana fires complete. Incomplete. Incomplete. Intended for Tyler. Couldn't hang on. Dave Archer, just in his 2nd year.
Well, you know, he wasn't even drafted in the NFL. You know, talk about all these scouting systems and how everyone knows. He was at Iowa State. He came out of a junior college, Snow Junior College. Didn't play much as a junior because they had the option. Played as a senior, and I don't think everyone saw him. Then he was a free agent.
Joe Montana. Pass complete to Francis.
one of the things you don't see in the stats. We were talking to Bill Walsh about last night, is how many times the quarterbacks get hit after they throw the ball. You know, it's not the in the grasp or whatever, but everyone, when the quarterback throws the ball, everyone watches the ball. And sometimes that quarterback really gets a heck knocked out of him after he threw it, as Joe Montana just did there.
That completion ties a 49er record for number of completions, 32. Set and held by Steve DeBerg as Craig goes over the right side for about 4. Rick Bryan made the stop. The 49er record for passes attempted is shared by DeBerg and John Brody back in 1966. Montana's thrown 50. The record's 54. Tyler with some room. Wendell Tyler inside the Falcon 40 before Ronnie Washington brings him down. He picked up 11.
Well, on that one, he got in behind his big left tackle, Bubba Paris. Watch 77 there in the front. Tyler said, no, I'm going to follow him. Now watch him right there. There's 77. There's Tyler. He's going to follow him right through there. Bubba gives him a little block there, and he's able to cut off that one. But he stayed right behind him, and the defense can't even see him.
That's that 49er version of that Redskin play that we've seen so much of in the last couple of years.
Yeah, that counter thing, right. Everyone runs it today.
1st and 10. Montana back to throw. Now comes scrambling out and stays out and goes out of bounds on the far side of the field at about the 34-yard line. Bobby Butler was over to make sure he didn't cut it up the field, as we've seen him do before. The scramble for 4. Frank and Bryce come into the game.
You know, the thing that Montana is really good at is when he scrambles like that to that right side, pulling up and throwing to that side. You wonder why he didn't that time. He didn't have any receivers on the right side of the field. Throw to.
2nd and 6. The ball's at the 34. Montana looking to throw and gets it down the middle of Francis, who is hammered again by Scott Case, but hung on. Gain of 9. 1st down.
You know, it'd be interesting to chart the 49ers passing game and how many times they throw in that same area, and all they do is put different guys in there.
In that, what, 8 or 9 yard, 7 or 8 yard area?
In that 6-7 yards area, right in there, you know, right in the middle of the field.
Montana going deep for Rice. Touchdown. Again, they burn on a blitz. Wendell Kaysen was the defender. Jerry Rice. 25-yard touchdown pass from Montana.
And again, Montana throwing really darn near from a prone position on this one. Watch this. Just as he throws, he's getting hit, but he gets rid of the ball, gets it out there right in front of Jerry Rice for the touchdown.
This guy, number 80, Jerry Rice. Everybody who's seen him thinks he's going to be just in time already, maybe very, very outstanding. As Worshing adds the extra point.
I saw him the first day he reported to camp in the 49ers, and he looked like a 5-year pro then.
24-10, 49ers lead. There is Freddie Solomon, who suffered a concussion in the first half. Still in uniform, still on the sideline, but he won't be back again.
I think that's a good sign, because that means that they had a chance to examine him at halftime, and if he weren't really in good shape, then he wouldn't be out there at the sideline, still dressed in his uniform.
Worshing hangs it high and deep to Danny Wagoner at the goal line. At about the 15. 49ers pile him up.
You know, I think the interesting thing about that last touchdown touchdown is watch Joe Montana here. Here comes a Falcon free. He's not even blocked, but Montana has the quickness to get back here and hit Jerry Rice with the touchdown. Watch this. They don't even block the backside. Right there. Now, look, he's going to get it right there, but he still has the presence and the quickness to get it away for a touchdown. That's the difference between the mobile, quick guy and the sitting duck in today's football.
Dave Archer remains the Falcon quarterback. He's 7 out of 8 on the day. And a scramble for a touchdown. And he is hammered from the backside. The ball is down. Dwayne Board hit him, and the 49ers had the football.
That was funny the way that ball dropped out of there. It didn't look like it was popped or knocked out. It just kind of dribbled out.
Todd Shell made the recovery.
Watch this play. It's going to be from his left side, his back side. See, he sees Todd Shell there, and then it's Board from the back side. The ball was loose just as Board hit him, and then it just went down underneath him. I'll tell you, probably the best defensive player on that team is Dwayne Board, and probably the most underrated player.
He's been very consistent also. First and goal from the 5-yard line. Montana into the end zone. Touchdown to John Frank. Montana's 4th touchdown pass of the day.
That's that deal. That play is darn near unstoppable down there in the goal line, where you fake the trap, quarterback bootleg, and the tight end runs a corner pattern. Watch this. They'll fake into the line. The guard pulls out. Montana pulls out, has the option to run or pass. John Frank runs a pattern in the end zone. That is darn near unstoppable.
Wersching's extra point is good. And it's San Francisco now 31, Atlanta 10.
That's John Frank. He's the end man on the line of scrimmage. He fakes a block, and then he just gets up in the end zone, and Montana hits him. Let's watch how that play develops. Here's what's so tough. You get the dive and the fake here. The guard pulls and gives you the option. The quarterback bootlegs. The tight end blocks and comes here, and you can run it or pass it. Now watch this. You see the fake will hold the defense. The fake is going to hold the linebacker. You see that holds the inside. Then you get to the outside. You got a blocker in front of you and a tight end in the end zone.
And Montana with his typical hands up over the head celebration, just as he did in the open when we said he hopes to have occasion and reason to celebrate again today, and indeed he has. Look at the day he's had. 35 completions, 54 attempts, 390 yards, 4 touchdowns, a 49er record.
You know, but how quickly they forget. Remember last week they're wondering what's wrong with Joe Montana. He can't do this, he can't do that. Maybe it's because his wife had a baby. I tell you, he's still the best.
Wagner fields it on the back of the end zone. The end zone line back there, as Wersching really got the foot into that one. Don't forget next week what's coming up here on CBS. John and I will be in Cincinnati as the Giants go out there for a rare visit. Detroit against Washington, and the Lions are really getting hammered by Green Bay today. The Rams against Tampa Bay, St. Louis against Philadelphia. That game again has been changed because of the baseball playoff situation in St. Louis. Second game next Sunday, you saw. Archer's quarterback, back to throw. Has time, pumps once, throws up the middle. Gerald Riggs out of the backfield was the receiver. Ricky Ellison made the stop on Riggs.
Ricky Ellison over there, you know, I think with Jack Reynolds gone, the old hacksaw of this 49er defense, Ellison has kind of taken his place. Not as a player, but as kind of the guy. You know what I mean? The guy that, you know, the spirit, the guy that runs around and hits guys in the shoulder pads and hits them in the helmets. And
he also calls the defense.
Calls the defenses, all those things.
Second down, Atlanta. Benson is the move. Archer retreats. Fires. to Stacey Bailey. Good enough for an Atlanta first down. Ronnie Lott and Eric Wright. 10:25 left to play with the 49ers owning a 31-10 3-touchdown lead. 13-yard gain on that pickup to Bailey. Steve Bartkowski started at quarterback for Atlanta. Re-injured his right knee and hasn't reappeared. That's caught. Anthony Allen comes down with the football. Dana McLemore, the defender. Gain of 16.
I think there's a penalty back there in the area of offensive holding. Yeah, that's what it is. Good thing they finally get it down. They finally complete a pass. They finally get something going. Boom, the yellow flag, holding, stop everything.
Holding for 61. First down.
John Scully. He'll move it back, call it all back. The Bears have taken the lead over Tampa Bay 13-12. They're in the fourth quarter. Kevin Butler, their rookie kicker. And as I mentioned before, Green Bay is just storming all over Detroit 43-3. Indianapolis 49-10 over Buffalo. Cleveland leading New England 24-20 fourth quarter. And New Orleans over Philadelphia now 20-14 fourth quarter. And Pittsburgh leads Miami 2017. And 20 here as Archer runs the quarterback draw. Carlton Williamson watched him slide in front of him.
I think when he was 1st and 20, he was just trying to hit him with a draw and calm down that big pass rush and pick up a little of that yardage. You know, when you need 20 yards to go for a first down, what play do you call against these guys? They're looking saying, come on, throw it in here. We'll pick one off.
49ers now have Fred Dean and Gary Johnson in that defensive front. Billy Johnson in motion. Archer's going to take off with it again, and down he goes in the arms of Fred Dean.
I think that was a free play for Archer. I think the 49ers jumped off sides, so he can still make the play. That is against the 49ers. So Archer had a free play there. If he completes a pass and gets a big play, then they decline the penalty.
Offside defense. Second down.
You can see it right there. It's Gary Johnson, the second guy in, the right tackle. He just got a jump. He probably went with one of the huts instead of the ball.
That'll make it 2nd and 8. 8:39 remaining to play. Anthony Allen comes out wide to the right. Stacey Bailey on the other side. The move man. Tries to get rid of it. He is hit just as he gets his arm back. John Scully was the man closest to the ball. They call it a sack. And that'll be the 5th of the day for San Francisco.
This is tough. You know, you get a second-year quarterback playing. You're down 31-10. They're bringing their blitzes. They're coming on you. You can't get anyone open. You just fumbled the last time you had the ball, and now you're getting it knocked out of your hands, knocked down, around, up, everything. It's a tough day. Tough football.
And now you face 3rd and 15. The 49ers have their pass rushing unit in there. Ball goes straight up in the air. There's a scramble for it, nothing doing. Anthony Allen and Dana McLemore were the two closest. And the Falcons will have to punt.
Now, this is tough for the Falcons. As we said, we came in yesterday, and they seem to have good spirit. You're being 0-4 and being down 31-10, you just wonder how much longer that can go. You know, or what, you know, at what point do you start to lose things? At what point do things become a bigger problem than can be handled?
How long do those good spirits last? Rick Donnelly. Punt to McLemore. Who lets it bounce? And it bounds out of bounds at about the 20. 7:41 left to play. Bill Walsh's 49ers up 31-10. Some of the crowd starting to leave Atlanta's Fulton County Stadium as the 49ers have a commanding 31-10 lead with 7:41 left to play. 49ers have the ball at their own 19. Montana goes right to work. Throws to Russ Francis. Ronnie Washington on the stop, and Montana, every time he throws and every time he completes, sets a new 49er record. Been a long day for that man, Dan Henning. And here's the way Montana has scattered it around.
You know, they do scatter it around, as we talked about earlier, the wide receivers, running backs, and the tight ends. But they're all about that same depth area and in that same area of the field, just different guys.
2nd and 4. Montana looks left. White Clark, the intended receiver, incomplete. Walter Payton has just scored his first rushing touchdown of the year, a 4-yard run. And the Bears look like they might be able to stay unbeaten now. They lead Tampa Bay 20-12.
Yeah, I was saying earlier that I think the 49ers are still the best team in the NFL, and I'm sure from a lot of people in the Chicago area that could be an argument, but they'll find out about that next week, too.
They play next week. 3rd and 4. Montana gives this time to Wendell Tyler. Tyler won't have the first down. 49ers have to punt. Ronnie Washington, whose nickname is Clubber because of the way he hits.
That's better than it was in college. We'll see him here, number 92, at the end of the play, right there, and hit. In his college, his nickname was Pill, because every time he hit a guy, the guy needed an aspirin.
For a scoring update, let's take you again back to Brent Musburger in New York.
Well, Pat, here comes Walter Payton's first rushing touchdown of the season for Chicago. They were under pressure, but again, they have come from behind, and they lead Tampa Bay. It is 20-12, 4th quarter. Let's go back to John and Pat.
All right, Brent, 31-10 here in Atlanta. The 49ers seeking their 3rd victory of the year. Atlanta winless, 0-4, and headed for 0-5.
You know, Pat, Brent sees all those games back there. I wonder who he thinks is better, the 49ers or Chicago.
Next time we get an update, we'll ask him.
Brent, what do you think?
Bob Holly is now the Falcon quarterback. Joe Washington in there with him. Holly chased and down. Gary Big Hands Johnson gets the 49ers 6th sack.
Gary Johnson looked like he was shot out of something the way he got in there. And Holly, maybe it was just the smell of a new quarterback. You know, they all smell a little different, and it looks like Johnson just said, whoa, there's a new whiff in there. Let me go get this one.
That'll 2nd and 25 all the way back at the 21. Things are going from bad to almost hopeless for the Falcons. Joe Washington gets away from Ronnie Lott and now goes out of bounds. The day has been a discouraging one for Atlanta quarterbacks. Bartkowski was hurt, his right knee. They've been sacked 6 times. They've been hurried 8 times. They've had 3 balls knocked down, or 2 balls batted. And the knockdowns added to all that. And it's been a bad day to have the Falcon on the side of your helmet.
Yeah, the Falcons just signed Bob Holly. He'd been with them in the preseason. Then they waived him. Then they brought him back this week when Bartkowski was injured, his thigh injury last week.
3rd and 11. Holly chased out of the pocket again, fires down the field. Arthur Cox. Cox rambles inside the 30 to about the 27. Dwight Hicks on the bottom of the pile. Gain of 39.
Bob Holly has a little smile on there. He said, I know 31-10. I could try, but when I can get a completion there, if I can Jones, a big tight end in the middle. You see him? He's behind that level of linebackers and in front of the secondary, and he just sat right there in that crease. He had to dodge a little rush here. The pocket started to collapse up the middle. You see him just shoulder off that thing? That's a pretty good move for a guy from Princeton.
Sure is. He was with the Redskins, of course, before. Holly back. Has a man across the middle. White Shoes Johnson, a gain of about 6. Make it 2nd and 4.
Holly looks like he's having fun here, Pat. You know, he's probably thinking, just think, last week I was watching these games on TV, and now I'm out here against the world champion 49ers, and I'm playing.
And they're putting the heat on me.
But it's fun when they don't get you.
And you complete 2 in a row, 2nd and 4. Ball's at the 49er 20. Intended for Stacy Bailey. Eric Wright with him step for step.
I don't know if Holly enjoyed that one as much as he did the other one, because heat is fun and getting hit, I think, hurts. Let's watch this. He's going to get one. See if we can see it again. There's a blitz, but he gets it from the outside right here. Just as he throws the ball. That was Manu Tuiasosopo. Just
The thing about the 49ers, they have those defensive linemen, all of them get into the action, and they all just about stay fresh. Almost caught by Stacy Bailey. He had it while he was up in the air and then dropped it. Dana McLemore was right with him, and Bailey is still down.
You know, he has the rib pads on there too, Bailey does, but sometimes, you know, he could have come down on that ball. You know, as the ball went through, watch him, there's a shoe there in the ground. Here comes the ball right out as he goes up. Had it.
The ground and the combination of McLemore landing on him caused it. 4th down. Looks like about 3 they need. 4th and 4, call it. Just over 4 minutes remaining on the clock, with the 49ers leading 31-10. Bob Holly, the Atlanta quarterback. Holly scrambles out of the pocket, will have the first down and more. Holly inside the 10 into the end zone. Touchdown, Bob Holly. Couple of scrambling touchdowns for the Falcon quarterbacks. One by Archer. This one from 20 yards away by Bob Holly.
In the same end zone, on the same side, but it's a different play. Here, Bob Holly is just scrambling here. He starts up at first, he's just thinking, get the first down, get the first down. Now, he gets the first down, he says, if I make one more cutback, I can go to the end zone.
And he gets in.
He had a good block out there.
Yes. Luckhurst for the extra point. Archer was the holder, and it's 31-17. Touchdown. Luckhurst will kick it off. If you can be happy when your team is losing 31-17, I think Bob Holly has to be.
Bob Holly's having fun.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers have just scored to come back against the Bears. It's 20-19. They still have 5:21 left to play in that game. Steve DeBerg threw a touchdown pass of 25 yards to Gerald Carter. The Bear lead is cut to 1.
As we watched Nick Luckhurst there, it was interesting talking to him yesterday. He said he hasn't practiced all year. Injured in preseason. Said he hadn't practiced all year. Oh, this is going to be a fancy kick here. I think they got it.
There's a penalty marker down from the other side of the field. It did appear that Atlanta got it. They are signaling they got it. But let's wait until the conference is over.
Of course, the ball has to travel 10 yards before the kicking team can touch it. I wonder if maybe someone wasn't offsides on the kicking team, because that's where the flag is, on the 40-yard line, right about where the ball was kicked from.
Fred Wyant, the referee.
We have an illegal block, number 39, in the 10-yard zone. Re-kick, 10-yard penalty.
Not only in that first 10 yards can they not touch the ball, but they can't block a 49er from coming up to receive the ball. See, the receiving team can go and pick it up in that 10 yards. The kicking team cannot, nor can the kicking team block anyone within that 10-yard zone. That's a lot of stuff.
It was Cliff Austin who was called for the penalty. They'll bring it back to 5-yard penalty. They'll kick off from the 30. I beg your pardon, 3:57 left to play now.
Anyway, we were talking about Luckhurst, and he said that you know he hasn't missed a kick all year, field goal or extra point. He said he hasn't practiced all year, and he said he's always felt that. He said that's what he told the coaches. They'd never buy it before. He said, if I'm kicking well, I don't have to practice. If I'm not kicking well, then I don't want to practice not kicking well. Look at all these guys over here on the right-hand side, and Luckhurst is going to kick there. Now, they can't touch it in that 10-yard thing, nor can they block. See the block right there? That's what they got him on, that was inside that 10-yard zone.
And that's a 10-yard penalty instead of 5, so he'll kick off now. Luckhurst will, from the 25-yard line instead of the 30.
They have the same alignment now. They have these 7 guys over here on this right side. Probably going to kick it here again.
Be interesting to see what they do. Same thing. The 49er grabs it out of the air. And now we have another penalty flag.
It'll probably be the same thing for, against Atlanta for, again, blocking in that area.
Same thing, I think.
That's a tough one, because the other guys, the receiving team's coming up to make contact with you, and you're going down to cover.
Illegal block, number 92, before the ball went 10 yards, declined, first down.
It's Washington.
Let's watch this group here. It looks like Washington is the 3rd guy in right there. See, now he makes that block there. That was a heck of a hit to get penalized on.
It really was.
And just because he hadn't gone 10 yards. A lot of times teams don't go over all these rules with a young, a rookie player like a Ronnie Washington.
49ers declining the penalty. Montana going to work. There's nobody out there. Dwight Clark, and they just forgot to cover him. Touchdown pass went 32 yards. What a day Montana is having.
Anyone could have a day like that if you have a wide receiver out there. I wonder if he was in the huddle. Watch him. He's out there by himself. There's no defensive player out there. He just runs straight up the field. I don't know if they just had 10 guys in the field, but they had no left corner.
Montana is getting that celebration down with a lot of practice.
He's over there saying, I can't believe that. I looked out there, there was no defensive guy out there.
38 17, 49ers over the Falcons. Nobody home. 37 completions, 57 attempts, 429 yards, 5 touchdowns, all 49er records.
And all in 1 week. You know, what's that going from something to something? Last week he had one of his worst days ever, or worst day ever. Then he comes back and breaks all these records today.
Break a lot of records if there's no defenders over there.
I'll tell you, that play there was probably the Atlanta Falcons sinking to as low as they've ever been. We have to see that one again. Look, here's Dwight Clark. There's no corner out here. There's no one. There's only a safety. I bet they only have 10 guys out there.
That's exactly right.
And this guy that was supposed to be here just didn't come in and play. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They only have 10 guys there. This guy forgot to play. Tell you, how would you like to have a thing like that? No one cover you and you drop the ball. Would that be embarrassing? How would you like to be the guy that was supposed to be there, that was supposed to cover it?
Well, if you look at the depth chart and who we have supposedly playing that position, it's Bobby Butler. Worshing pops it into the end zone. Danny Wagner is hit down at the 10-yard line. Let's go now for an NFL scoring update to Brent Musburger in New York.
Well, Pat and John, the difference between the Bears and the 49ers, the fact that the Buccaneers have been playing with 11 men all day, and here they are on the blitz going to Gerald Carter. He's got it, and the Buccaneers are still alive. John, the only difference is the fact that the 49ers have suffered more injuries. That could be an edge for the Bears next week. Back to you and Pat.
All right, back here in Atlanta is San Francisco 38, the Atlanta Falcons 17, 3:39 left to play.
You know what I think the biggest difference is, Pat, is turnovers and no turnovers. The 49ers had no turnovers today.
Our first final score of the day is the Miami victory over Pittsburgh, 24-20. That one was a game in which the lead changed hands about 7 times. Talked about last week, 12 out of 26, only 120 yards, sacked twice, no touchdowns, and now today, look at what he's done today. Bob Holly gets to Washington. First down, Atlanta. Jeff Fuller, number 49, made a stop.
Those 49er guys are out there in defense, running around, screaming and yelling and doing all that. Hey, you tend to do that when you had a lead 38-17.
There have been rumors here in Atlanta for the last couple of weeks about Dan Henning's future as the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. With a loss like this, the record drops to 0-5. He didn't seem in bad spirits yesterday. Pass is caught by the tight end Arthur Cox. So when you're 0-5, it's hard to maintain that positive attitude.
Right, and you never know at what point does the owner say that's it. You know, Dan Henning is in the 3rd year of a 3-year contract. But along the way, Rankin Smith, the owner of the Falcons, has said, I don't want to change coaches during the season. I've tried that before, and I know that doesn't work.
So both sidelines will get the 2-minute warning. 2 left to play. That's Rankin Smith, the owner of the Atlanta Falcons, looking rather dejected, as you would certainly expect. Bob Holly retreats to bat. Gets it outside to Anthony Allen. And that'll be enough for a first down. Pretty good throw there.
That's one thing that, you know, that Bob Holly can do. He has a strong arm. He just hasn't had a lot of experience. He was drafted by the Washington Redskins. He was with them in his second year. He was cut. Then he went to the Philadelphia Eagles with training camp with them, waived by them. Then he came to Atlanta at the end of last year, then to training camp this year, waived again, and just brought back last week. So he's been around a lot, but he hasn't played a lot.
Joe Washington is behind him. Intended for Allen, a little high. Put one hand, got one hand on it. As Eric Wright was the 49er defender. Two more final scores. The Browns 24-20 over New England. And Green Bay annihilated Detroit 43-10. Packers get their second victory of the year. The Bears have scored again and lead Tampa Bay 27-19 now.
Hey, in this league, you have to have a quarterback. You know, the Jim McMahon down there at Chicago, you take the Joe Montana here. You have to have that guy today.
Anthony Allen, the receiver again. Wrapped up by Torrey Nixon. 11-yard gain.
That was a funny play in the sideline there. It looked like everything was suspended there for a while, then bodies just started flying all over. Looked like they were just waiting for something to happen on the sideline there, and then it started to happen. There's Torrey Nixon, and he's going man-to-man on Allen. They just kind of suspend there. Now, boom, look at all these guys come flying in there, and the action started over again.
Now they changed the formation. There is confusion. Nobody knows where to go. Wisenhut comes in motion. And he makes the reception. I had said a minute ago that the score of Tampa Bay Bears was 27-19. We had it incorrect graphically, but that is correct, 27-19. This telecast is presented by the authority of the National Football League. It's intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Atlanta Falcons and the National Football League is prohibited.
This always surprises me. I guess you have to do it. There's only a minute 28 seconds. You're down, 38. You haven't done anything all day, and 38-17, and you take timeouts. I've always felt either side. I just want to get the game over with.
Well, a minute 28 left. And I guess if you're Bob Holly, you want as much of that playing time as you can possibly get.
Yeah, but if you're Dan Henning, you probably want to get inside.
I would imagine. They're at the 49er 36-yard line. 38-17. Holly back to throw. Gets it outside to Joe Washington. He steps out of bounds. Dwight Hicks over there to shove him out.
One thing, if Atlanta can ever get things going here, they have a couple of guys that over the years have been exciting type players. Joe Washington is one. The other is Billy White Shoes Johnson. They could get a William Andrews back. I mean, these guys have been kind of heart and soul, enthusiasm, life, all those types of things. But maybe they're getting a little older. Maybe it's just this team and this place that doesn't work.
First down. Up in the pocket, now takes off and breaks away from the tackle. Holly slides for a first down. And the Falcons take a timeout. Executive producer of the NFL on CBS is Terry O'Neill. Senior producer Charles H. Milton III. Bob Stenner, the producer of this game. The director Sandy Grossman. Associate producer is Joan Vitrano. Stu Meyer, the field technical manager. And again, thanks to all of the rest of you who make our job rather simple. 99 passes have been thrown in this game so far. Montana has broken every 49er passing record. The Falcons have used 3 quarterbacks. Bartkowski started, then Archer, and now it's Bob Holly. Don't forget that there's great college football next Saturday here on CBS. Most of you will see a traditional interstate battle between Michigan and Michigan State. Some of you will see a Pac-10 showdown between UCLA and Stanford next Saturday at 2:30 Eastern Time, 1:30 Pacific, right here on CBS.
These people are all waiting here to see if Bob Holly is going to throw the 100th pass of the game now. I hope he does. I mean, then you got something to talk about. Well, how was the game? Oh, there were over 100 passes yesterday. Should have seen it.
There's Riggs up the middle. That's a bit of a surprise call. A penalty flag is down on the far side of the field. 99 passes thrown. 100 is the record.
And Bob Holly probably doesn't know that.
That record was set between Tampa Bay and Kansas City, October of last year. Let's see if they break it. Illegal formation.
6 men on the line.
A couple of times the Falcons have had that called against them. Coming up tonight on CBS, no more passes. 60 Minutes, then Murder, She Wrote, the season premieres of Crazy Like a Fox, and Trapper John M.D.
Well, anyway, again, I hope he passes this time. I mean, all these Army guys down here, these soldiers are here, they're staying here, every one of them there. Haven't left, they're all in their seats. Jeff Van Note saying, I've seen about everything, but I've never seen 100 passes in a game.
Jeff's been at it a while. 17 years.
And he's seen just about everything. In fact, he was the president of the Players Association, right, the NFLPA. So he's been not only a leader on this team, but a leader in the league.
67 passes have been completed by both teams. That's a new NFL record. Let's see if Bob Holly puts it up. Going to if he has time, and he does. That's pass number 100, and he never saw it.
I wonder if Bob Holly would know. You know, that here it is, the 100th pass. Look, the shoulder pad pops out. Guys flying all over, just throwing it into the ground. Yeah, that'll be a trivia question someday. Who threw the pass? Where was it thrown? Who'd he throw it to? And was it Dwayne Board that was really on top of him at the end of the play? That's a trivia question.
Was it Dwayne Board? And it was, and it has been a lot of today. Let's see if he breaks the record. And if he has time, he will. It's complete to Washington at about the 10. Ricky Ellison on the stop, and that is an NFL record. The Falcons call a timeout, and over to the sideline comes Holly. 12-yard gain.
Maybe that's why he was taking a timeout, so we could break these records that they're doing here.
Don't forget, again, next week here on CBS, the NFL schedule has the Giants at Cincinnati, where John and I'll be. Detroit against Washington, the Rams, Tampa Bay, St. Louis at Philadelphia. Those are all the first games. Second games, the Bears 5-0 against the 49ers, who are going to be 3-2. And Atlanta goes to Seattle. Won't that be a long trip? That Bear score, by the way, is final. They beat Tampa Bay.
I'll tell you, they're good. You know, they had the defense before the Bears did, and you know, they had that pressing type of defense, and then they had Walter Payton, but never the total offense. And now with McMahon back, it seems like he's matured into the quarterback. They still have Walter Payton, the running game, the defense. They've really, you know, put the pieces together, and they're complete now.
This game has had over 1,000 yards gained. 519 by San Francisco, 509 by Atlanta. Here's Holly. Being chased and scrambling, throws high and out of the end zone. Into the first row.
I think he completed it.
He did.
I think the guy caught it. I think a guy with a cap caught the ball.
keep getting guys hurt, they may activate him.
It doesn't make any difference who you complete it to. Every pass I throw, I get to someone. I'm going to let him have the ball, I think. Well, I'll let him have the ball. He's running up with it. Here's the rush. He's going to get it right there. Now he has to get rid of it. He said, I'm not going to get sacked by a whole bunch of guys. I'm going to throw it in the stands. And he did. He threw it right in the seats to a kid.
Who gave it back? Holly goes down at about the 15. That should just about take care of it. 7 sacks by San Francisco. 42 seconds remaining on the clock. That was 4th down, so the 49ers take it over, and they'll head back in the other direction. Total offense over 1,000 yards, 1,028 to be exact. 49ers winning it 38-17, and now almost everyone, except those Army guys, are leaving.
Those Army guys, they're going to stay. They're getting their money's worth. They're staying through the whole game.
Montana just kneeling. Now they're starting to file out, but they're still cheering.
Yeah, they hung in there.
They did their own wave a minute ago. Now they're saying waving goodbye. Coming up next, the NFL Today, the post-game show with Brent Musburger. Don't forget, the 49ers let it run out. And they walk off with their victory 38-17 over Atlanta. The record improves to 3-2, and Atlanta goes to 0-5. It was a long day for Atlanta quarterbacks. San Francisco now heads home and heads for their meeting next week with the Bears. Atlanta will go to Seattle. They'll go there 0-5. The game in San Francisco should be a good one.
And one of the best games of the afternoon. The Miami Dolphins come down the stretch in the 4th quarter, and they put away Pittsburgh 24-20, and then they did it with just a couple minutes left in that game. San Francisco and Atlanta, the 49ers, behind Joe Montana's 5 touchdown passes. He was 37 of 57 for 429 yards, an embarrassing setback for the Falcons. On his 5th touchdown pass, there were only 10 defensive players on the game. Just underway, and Kansas City leads the Raiders by a field goal in the 1st quarter. San Diego and Seattle are underway, and the Seahawks kick a field goal. They lead by 3. Houston and Denver in Mile High Stadium scoreless right now in the 1st quarter. The Jets and Cincinnati are underway, and both teams strike early, tied at 7 right now. Minnesota and the unbeaten Rams, they are scoreless in the 1st quarter of that game. And for those of you who just joined us, let me get you up to date with the rest of them. The Bears a winner again, 27-19. They are now 5-0, and they go out to play the 3-2 San Francisco 49ers next Sunday. Green Bay over Detroit, 43-10, 6 turnovers by the Lions in that game. Indianapolis, with its most points since 1976 when they were playing in Baltimore, they rout Buffalo 49-17. Cleveland over New England. Bernie Kosar forced to quarterback the Browns today because of a shoulder injury suffered by Gary Danielson, and the young man was impressive as he led them to that victory. New Orleans over Philadelphia as Bum Phillips. And Jimmy the Greek, I've got to ask you, because last week he beat San Francisco, and now he stops the Eagles by 2. What does this do for the old Bumbarooski?
I'll tell you one thing, he's a hero in New Orleans once again.
You won't be a hero long if he trades too many more #1 draft choices down the road, I might add. All right. Pat Summerall was down in Atlanta, and he was covering the victory by the 49ers. We've got heroes like Joe Montana and Walter Payton, but let's start with Pat Summerall down in Atlanta. Pat?
Well, the final score, 38-17, and Joe Montana has graciously consented to stay out here and talk to us. Joe, did you have any idea what was going on as far as record setting is concerned?
No, I had no idea at all until after the last pass to Dwight, and we'd come off, and then we really felt the game was in hand, and they started talking about it. I guess Roger tied something, a record. We're going to try and get him the ball in the next play.
Yeah, he tied a record for most pass receptions in a game, 12.
Yeah, that's the only one I had heard of. Bill said that he had tied, and we'd like to get him the ball one more time, but we're going to try to go down the field one time.
Joe, how did you feel after coming off last week's loss to New Orleans and, you know, really having a bad day for you and then coming back today? Was practice different this week? Was the whole approach different for you?
Well, I think it was a little more intense than it has been, and it was only because of the way we lost. We felt that, you know, we really didn't play our type of ball, but you know, you have to give them a lot of credit. They stopped all our short passes, which we started the game with here, and we really couldn't control the game as much as they were controlling what we were trying to do. And I held the ball a couple times trying to make a play, and I got in trouble for it. In this game, we came in and decided that we were going to try and hit the short passes there and then take our chances down the field every now and then.
Well, Joe, thank you for staying out. Congratulations on your new fatherhood.
Thank you very much, man.
Now let's go to Tampa Bay and Tim Ryan.
All right, Pat, the Bears had to rally here for a victory over Tampa Bay. They were down 12-3 at the half, an inspired defensive display by the Buccaneers, but then Jim McMahon really got hot in the second half, Johnny. 14 of 17, 2 touchdowns scored by Walter Payton that pushed him to 101 in his career, and the Bears won 5-0.
Yes, it was one of those games that championship teams have to win. They got behind, as they have many times this year, and came back, and Payton was the spark. There were a lot of reasons, but mainly Walter Payton had 2 nice touchdown runs towards the end of the game. Tampa Bay played a good football game.
Yes, they did, despite the loss, and we have Walter Payton standing by here. We had a chance to talk to him earlier. Let's listen. We've got Walter Payton on the sidelines, and Walter, the way the Bears started out today, it looked like you'd missed your wake-up call. Obviously, the Bucs played well defensively, but did you feel the team was a little flat in the first half?
Well, it's funny because all the games that we've played this year, we've fallen behind, and we had to come back to win. I guess we're just waiting for them to score so we can come back.
Are you looking ahead to San Francisco? I imagine this is one game that you want to get a little revenge for last year.
Well, I don't think it's that type of a revenge game. We know what it takes to beat San Francisco, and you know, it would be nice to put some points on the board because last time they shut us out, and we know we're a much better football team than that.
Seems. Well, there's Walter Payton. The Bears 5-0 go on to San Francisco. Right now, let's go to New Orleans and Dan Deerdorf.
Thanks, Tim, and here we are at the Superdome in New Orleans. Dan Deerdorf along with Gene Fugit, and Gene, we saw quite a football game here today.
It was very exciting. Randall Cunningham got hurt earlier in the game, and they came in with Ron Jaworski, who really fired up the Eagles and threw 3 touchdown passes. But late in the game, he got bit by a little bit of bad luck, Dan.
23-21, the final score as the Saints hung on, and Dave Waymer, Gene, a big, big day.
Dave Waymer, defensive back from Notre Dame, had 3 interceptions today. This was the big play at the end. He goes down covering Mike Quick and comes up with the big interception. Waymer, who was really ready, had 3 interceptions. Now, what set that play up was Ricky Jackson, number 57, the all-pro linebacker, coming from the left side. You see him coming in, putting pressure on Jaworski. Jaworski forced to rush that pass, and it was underthrown, intercepted, and that was the end of the game.
Ricky Jackson played quite a ball game here today in New Orleans. Unfortunately, the Eagles fall to 1-4. Meanwhile, the Saints go to 3-2. Right now, we'll go to Jim Hill in Green Bay.
All right, Dan, thank you very much. Here, really big for the Packers, 43-10 over the Detroit Lions. And, John, it was just all Green Bay right from the start.
Jim, no mystery. Detroit turned the ball over 6 times. Green Bay and Lynn Dickey had fire in their hearts, and they just outplayed Detroit in every phase of the game.
Lynn Dickey completed 11 of 17 for 126 yards and 2 touchdowns. After the game, I talked to him. All right, Len, first of all, congratulations. And, you know, a lot of people were talking about you getting that old fire, that old desire back. It seems like you have.
Well, thank you, Jim. You know, everything seemed to click for us today, offensively and defensively. And a big key was the way our offensive line controlled the line of scrimmage. We were able to run the football, which, you know how I like to be able to run the football, take a lot of pressure off, get good protection when we go in and do throw some passes. But that was the key to the game. I think we controlled the line of scrimmage both offensively and...
Were you surprised you were able to run the ball that well? You got 285 yards on the ground, believe it or not.
Well, I guess not really, because teams that we had seen had run the ball pretty well on them. And so I felt I would have been pretty disappointed if we weren't able to run the ball, but I didn't think it was going to be that good.
2 touchdown passes by you this afternoon, Len. Once again, another shining example of good protection by your offensive line.
That's all it is. It's amazing. Talking to Randy Wright, after I came out of the game and after he came out of the game, he said, boy, it's really fun to be able to stand there and look around and pick guys out, and that's just about the way it was today. Line did a great job of protection, and so did the backs, and yeah, I had to applaud James Lofton and Phil Epps. They had excellent games, James especially. You know, he's had some trouble lately. People have been down on him, and I was really pleased for him to have a big game.
We've seen everything around the league now. 43-10 Green Bay over Detroit. Now let's go back to Brent Musburger in New York.
Hi, Jim, and the NFL Today continues on CBS in just a moment. The Chicago Bears record now 5-0 as they come from behind to beat Tampa Bay 27-19. And Irv, let's take a look at the highlights of that one.
I'll tell you, the Bears knew they were going to be in a pressure cooker going down to Tampa Bay, Brent. And early on in the game, Jim McMahon here feels a lot of heat from the running rushman here, and he's called for intentional grounding. DeBerg comes back with his offense, hits Kevin House on a neat pass here and deep in the corner, keeping both feet in very nicely. And Ditka, of course, knows he's in for a long day. McMahon getting his offense going. This time goes to Dennis McKinnon, who makes a great sliding catch. And the Bears are in the game 12-10. DeBerg gets his offense going a few seconds later, but he's swarmed by the Bear defense. The Bears take over, and Walter Payton goes in for a rushing touchdown, his 100th rushing touchdown, making him the 6th player in the National Football League to do so.
Green Bay with an easy win this afternoon. It was 43-10 over the Detroit Lions. And Indianapolis routs Buffalo 49-17 was the final in that one. And Cleveland over New England 24-20. Let's take a look at Bernie Kosar. He was in action, of course, and led the Browns to a victory in this game. Gary Danielson had to go out with an injured shoulder. Kosar then bobbled his first snap, but he completed his next 7 passes for Marty Schottenheimer. Now watch this play. Eason drills the ball towards Stanley Morgan, who somehow comes up with it in the end zone. Kevin Mack then taking the handoff, and he goes up the middle for a 10-yard touchdown here for the Browns. And then the defense did the rest for him. Jimmy, how you like the Browns?
I'll tell you one thing. You know, they are now the leader of the AFC Central, believe it or not.
Kosar 9 of 15 for 104 yards and 1 interception on the day. New Orleans over Philadelphia, as we told you. 23-21 was the final in that game. And Irv, how about the Miami-Pittsburgh game? 24-20, the Dolphins come back.
Boy, I tell you, you know, you get these two teams together, you're talking about great teams with who are well coached. Mark Malone gets the Steelers going early when he goes to John Swain, and pass interference is called in the end zone on Swain on Louis Lips. Steelers take advantage of it, Malone going to Ouija Thompson for a touchdown. And Shula, of course, knows right now he has to get his club going, and he does shortly with Lorenzo Hampton taking a handoff from 2 yards out and goes in for the touchdown.
All right, Irv, San Francisco, they go to 3-2, get ready to host the unbeaten Bears next week. The following games now are underway. It is 3-0. The Chiefs are over the Raiders. Seattle has kicked a field goal, and they are ahead of the Chargers right now. Denver has kicked a field goal, and they lead the Oilers. The Jets in Cincinnati, wild first half in this one. The Bengals over the Jets 10-7, and the Los Angeles Rams out in Anaheim have just kicked a field goal. They are trying to stay unbeaten with the Bears. And the NFL Today continues on CBS in just a moment. Well, the division winners have all been decided, but it was a big day as far as 46-year-old Phil Niekro was concerned. Today, he became the oldest pitcher to ever throw a shutout. And that shutout marked his 300th career victory as a major league pitcher. So the Yankees pour out of the dugout to celebrate Phil, who is being hugged by his younger brother, Joe Niekro. The Yankees don't win a division title, but a big day for 46-year-old Niekro. Now, a reminder that next Saturday on CBS, most of you will see the unbeaten Michigan Wolverines go up against the Michigan State Spartans, who uncovered a great quarterback yesterday against Iowa. 2:30 Eastern Time. Those of you who don't see that game will see UCLA against the Stanford Cardinal and their outstanding quarterback, John Pay. Then next Sunday, the NFL on CBS. The big one is our doubleheader game, of course, and that will be after all of these regional games. The Giants at
Cincinnati. The Rams, for example, will travel east to take on Tampa Bay. Minnesota goes against Green Bay. And then the big doubleheader game. It'll be the unbeaten Chicago Bears against the San Francisco 49ers. Irv Cross has got his bag already packed. What do you think, Irv? Who's going to win that one?
Well, you know, when I was in Chicago a couple of weeks ago, the Bears said if we're going to get to the Super Bowl, we have to go through San Francisco first. They're looking forward to this one.
Well, they're going to try to go through next Sunday. It'll be a big day here on CBS. And for Jimmy the Greek and Irv Cross, I'm Brent Musburger. So long, everybody.
The NFL Today post-game show has been sponsored by Light Beer from Miller. Everything you've always wanted in a beer, and less.